Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Game Informer Show. I'm Ben Hansen, joined by Matt Burtz.
Hello.
And Jeff Cork.
Hey!
Oh my gosh, do we have a show today, folks?
Yeah.
Surprise! We're talking about Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah.
Jeff Cork, you've played it.
I have.
Those fingers right here have actually touched a controller that controlled the main character in Red Dead Redemption 2.
And you touched my thumb, which I won't wash ever again.
Perfect. We'll dive in. We'll talk all about that. That should be the show in and of itself, but hell no.
I
We
would
have
think
more.
so.
We
What?
keep going. Talking about NBA 2K19 finally with Matt Burtz.
Yes.
You spent a lot of time with it. It's been a long time coming, or I guess since, it came out the same day as Spider-Man? Is that right?
It came out the 7th if you bought the anniversary edition, the 11th. It's one of
Okay,
those
all
like
right.
cascading
I hate
release
it.
date
I don't even
games.
want to hear it.
Yeah.
Also, surprise! There's a PlayStation Classic. We'll talk about that a little later on. Also talking about the Nintendo Direct from last week, because there's fun stuff in there. Nintendo Online. There's a bunch of just console talk in this episode. It's weird.
It's about time PC takes a backseat on the Game Informer show. For too long, it's monopolized the conversation.
But hardware stuff. And then Joe Juba's going to come in and talk about Xenoblade 2's DLC, which is standalone, which is interesting. What? Can't scratch my head? That's a secret nod. It's like
Like
my
an ape?
Carol Burnett pulling on the ear for
Oof.
fans. Valkyria Chronicles 4, stuff like that. Community emails, the back half of the show. Good God. Spider-Man Game Club Act 2, Episode 2. So we're covering everything up until the end of Act 2, which was the E3 demo from this year, if you recall. And so if you have not gotten to that point, don't listen to that. But we're diving in deep. We're talking all about very specific things. We have dozens and dozens and dozens of emails from the community, and I love those emails. People are doing such a good job of being so specific. People are writing in with like the tiniest details that no one's ever talked about for Spider-Man. You think everybody's talked about everything with that game, but no.
Yeah?
There's a ton of details that we get to, so it's a good time. All right, as for now, Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah.
Jeff Cork, walk me through this. You went to New York City itself. You went to Rockstar's headquarters.
Yes.
What was that like?
The elevator is nice, and I got hustled into a demo room immediately.
Did you see any developers on the floor? Anything?
No, it was very early in the morning. And yeah, I was like a shameful secret, so they just wanted to kick me out and play the game.
Do you feel like you're in hallowed ground being in Rockstar? Is it like, this is crazy that you're actually within this building here?
Not especially, and not to discount Rockstar's too. I mean, it's a game studio. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
always excited to be inside a game studio, just
Yeah.
in general, yeah.
Okay, so Red Dead Redemption 2 sat you down. Was it the start of the game? What did you actually get to play here?
So I got to play, what I'm able to talk about now, or I got to play a couple of missions and then cruise around the city called Valentine, and then ride a horse on the open plains for a
Perfect.
period of time.
And
I'm so jealous.
I know, that's unbelievable. So you got to play a little bit more, but you can't talk about that yet.
That's correct.
Okay, so here's my read on this situation.
Yes.
You went into the internal Slack, because everyone was bugging you after you got to play this, and they said, Cork, how is it? How is it? How is it? Tell us everything. How is Red Dead Redemption 2? And you just made a little king emoji, I think, was your first response.
Yeah.
And no one knew what that meant. And then how did he follow it up, Bertz? I forget exactly how the chain
Well, I
went.
had my own conversation with him, so I don't know. I might be conflating, but he just assured me like what I want to happen with that game's happening with that game, which is Rockstar's rewriting how to do open worlds again.
Is that right?
It's the best.
It's the best. So
It's the best.
my read, I haven't talked to you about this yet.
Yes.
You're a very level-headed guy, and you came in, you're like, game of the year, potential contender here, looking good. You were that hot about it.
It was like the scene in a Western where the drunk is like thrown into the horse trough, and that drunk is Spider-Man, and Red Dead is just giving it a big horse trough swirly.
You said Kratos too, though. That's the crazy thing.
Yeah, it is the best.
God of War is amazing.
Yeah,
But
God of
look,
War
there's
is
a
really-
conversation I'm sure we'll have at the back half of the year.
Yeah.
Okay, what stood out? What was the biggest revelation?
What I love about it is just how all these crazy, intricate little parts all come together in a way that if you aren't keeping your eye out specifically for them, you may not notice. There's just a ton of interlocking systems, and everything comes together, and it's just absolutely beautiful.
So systems was the main thing.
Well, I think that it's such a difficult game to pull out of, and just other than just like, it's the freaking best. Like, it's everyone did the right thing by clearing the calendar. You do not want to have your game release around this because you're going to get freaking annihilated, because it's just yeah, your game looks like garbage compared to this game. I'm sorry.
Visually,
Yeah.
like polish was
It is
already there. For the
astonishing.
mission.
Like, okay, like there was one sequence kind of like near the end where it's just like, hey, I'm just riding my horse around this plains, and it's like, wow, this looks absolutely incredible. And then it just started raining, and you're like, wow, this is really nice. And then kind of looked around, and I'm not one to usually gush about skyboxes because that's kind of ho-hum stuff. I mean, yeah, it looks like the sky. I see that literally every day. But this one, it started raining. It was like this torrential downpour. I was like, wow, this looks really cool. But then whirling around, it wasn't just like in a lot of games where it's like, oh, it's raining outside, so the sky is gray. It was like, the sky is like black over here and it's like really coming down. But if you look, there's like patches of blue sky. There's like a rainbow.
God rays coming through the clouds.
The clouds. And when it was raining really hard, like Arthur's on the horse. He's like, the horse is kind of moving a little differently. He like pulls his hat down and he's like bracing and hunches his shoulders. It just feels like he exists in this world in a way that you don't see in a lot of games.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
So, like another small details, like, and this is something that they've talked about a little bit. I think that people are probably like, well, whatever. You don't walk around with your complete arsenal on you. So you go to your horse. When you get off of your horse, you have to go to your saddlebag and get like your rifle or your bow or anything. It's like a subtle thing, but it makes you feel like you're not just this thing walking around that just happens to have access to everything. You have to like engage in the world in interesting little ways.
I love that. You know, the Metro games do that really well. Just these little subtle touches of realism that just make the world seem more lived in.
Absolutely. And then like if you're like shouldering your rifle though, and then you get off your horse, you still have the rifle on you. It's only when you put it down when you're on the horse that you have to get it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's absurd. Arthur Morgan, did you have a big takeaway from the character?
He reminds me a lot of kind of the like Josh Brolin's character in No Country for Old Men.
Ooh,
just kind of like that was like the thing going into it. You're like, am I gonna like this guy?
Yeah.
Because I don't know much about him, and he's cool. He's really
just kind of
cool.
quiet, soft spoken, ain't no
Kind of
lobos.
quiet, funny, sarcastic, and like I get to spend a little bit of time in camp also, and that's probably the biggest difference about this game too from Red Dead Redemption, the first one, is that you feel like you are a member of a community. You're not just John Marston. Had a very solitary adventure for the most part, and the feeling was a lot different. Here, you're engaging with other characters who you're friends with a lot of the time. So like when I did a train heist, you're riding out with your friends and they're talking to you, and you feel like these relationships, these are people who've traveled together for a long time. Some of the people are really funny, but not in a like lame
GTA way?
Not in a lame way.
Okay.
It's just, you just feel like I want to get to know these people. They're interesting. They don't feel as broadly written as maybe some of the stuff in the first Red Dead, as much as I liked it.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
It feels less jokey overall.
Yeah, it feels less jokey as in like, get a load of this guy. By him existing, he is the joke.
Yes.
And instead it's like, this guy's funny.
Did you see Marston? Was he in your posse here?
Yes.
What
I
is
did
that like?
I did see John Marston. You could tell that he and Arthur Morgan have history, and not in a great way. Like there's some friction between the two of them, and just kind of overall in camp, John Marston doesn't seem like someone that maybe. I think you as a player are probably a bigger fan of John Marston than the people that were in the gang with him.
That's awesome.
I like that too, because there is a nod to that. I just replayed Red Dead, and there's a scene when you're with Bill Williamson. He's like, Dutch never liked you. He thought you were dumb.
Oh, really?
So they're kind of building off those little tiny slivers we got.
Can you cite to anything specifically? Is it just kind of like disinterest in John Marston?
Disinterest in like a few like cutting remarks, but they do work together.
So
and
fun.
Like one of the interesting things about the game too is that you're given more. Kind of like in GTA 5, when you had the bigger heist moments, you did planning and you made your choices ahead of time, right? For the most part. Here, when like you do the train heist, for instance, your characters, your like gang members that are with you will ask you like, hey, should I move ahead or do you want to take care of this guy? And you can kind of choose how you want things to play out. And like, for instance, in another mission where we're taking on a gang hideout, we're with John and we tell him like, John's like, you want me to go ahead and take this guy up close, or should we take him at a distance? And I was like, you take care of him, John. And John just like sneaks over to this guy who's sitting on a log and like pulls the guy back and just stabs him in the chest a whole bunch. And like Arthur's like, Jesus Christ.
Voice actor for John's the same?
I can't tell. I got to get confirmation on it. It sounds identical. If it is not him, it sounds like John Marston. So like I said, I need to get confirmation on that.
Yeah. Can you walk us through the train heist a little bit?
Yeah. It's interesting because when you first go there, you ride out, and the plan is you see the train kind of coming around a corner, and then there's a tunnel, and you're kind of standing on the hill that the tunnel is built into.
Okay.
You're looking down on it, And Bill Williamson, he's planting explosives because the thing is they're going to blow the train before it enters the tunnel and then take the money.
Is it at night?
It's during the day.
Okay.
So before it starts, though, everyone, including yourself, you have to manually put your bandana up.
Manually?
Yeah, so you
I'm
can
into
choose to
that.
ride
Okay.
like that or not. And then you go down there and you talk to Bill and you're like, you need a hand. And then you can you help him by taking this wire and unspooling the wire and connecting it to the detonator. And then you ride back up. And when the train comes, Bill Williamson's like frantically hitting the detonator. It doesn't go off. And everyone immediately blames Bill Williamson and not you, the person that strung up the wire, which is great for you because you've got apparently a little more cachet within the gang. But so then they're like, oh, crap. And so you jump on top of the train, though, on the other side of the tunnel as it passes through because you were unable to stop it there. And then it's just a matter of you and Ally, you're going through and kind of going through the train car and you choose like to let the other guy handle himself or you want to take the lead, work your way to the top, finally get the train to stop. And at that point, you're in the forest and the train has stopped and a bunch of people come out because they're like, this train was very well protected, which you didn't know.
Okay.
And one of the things that's also really nice about it is that the AI characters really handle themselves well. Like you could probably, if I'd wanted to, I probably could have sat there and they would have taken care of themselves.
Oh, weird. Okay.
Which a lot of games, they kind of like, I don't know if they're just a bad shot because they want you to feel like the hero. And I appreciated the fact that there were several times where I'm like lining up a shot and then the guy would just be dead. I'm like, cool. Like my dudes are like carrying their weight.
Yeah.
So they're like the end part of that main shootout. The rest of the gang catches up on horseback and just annihilates everybody else. And then you get into the train, it's armored, but you like, everyone unloads on it to send them a message like, open up the freaking doors, and then you put dynamite on it and blast it open, and they come out. And then you've got a choice of like letting the survivors go or killing them. And I killed one of them, and then the other two ran away with different directions. And
Beep, beep, beep. Deadeye in combat?
Deadeye in combat, yep.
Feels pretty close to the first one?
Yep.
Okay.
How do the guns feel in general? Is it more Max Payne-y, or is it pretty reminiscent of?
It's pretty reminiscent of Red Dead.
Okay.
The auto aim assist isn't quite as sticky as it was in the first game. But I don't know if that's something I can go into the settings and adjust or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But and also I realized like, oh, I should have. When you get better weapons, it's going to be a lot more satisfying as well. Because there were some times where I like would shoot a guy 3 or 4 times, and he's still limping along. So you're like, ah.
Were you able to play first person?
Yeah, you can play first person.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Yeah, you can play first person.
Holy crap. How does that look? It's like, so it's like the camera's in his head? Hang on.
Yeah.
Does it feel about the same quality as GTA 5?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I found it by mistake when I was on horseback. I was just like, I'm going to push this giant button and push the touchpad in.
Yeah.
And there it is.
Wow. I wonder, and you can play the entire game first person in theory.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. I had no idea.
Yeah, that's cool.
Any other big questions you feel like this cleared up that the Red Dead community's been wondering, Birds?
I want to know how the horses ride. I want to know, like how do they feel different? Or is the AI better in them?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes to all. They like because before I went on the trip, I played the first Red Dead Redemption for several hours just to get in that mindset again, and I'd forgotten like the horses are pretty okay in that game, but they're they're kind of a hassle at the same time. Like riding next to a person while they're talking, of which you do that a lot.
Yeah.
Was kind of finicky at times. It's a lot better in Red Dead 2. Just horses in general feel like, again, they feel like they are active participants in the world.
Okay.
The way that they like handle terrain.
Are they better on those little gradients that sometimes you would have problems moving over?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like there was nothing weird to report about it. Like typically, like you play an open world game, and you're like, oh yeah, I hit this rock that I couldn't pass, and it didn't seem like that should have blocked me, but it did. But then I moved around. There was nothing that stood out that way at all.
Okay. Soundtrack?
Soundtrack's great.
Different from the first, though?
Yeah.
Okay.
Same composer.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I had no idea.
Yeah. And then something that's interesting, and I didn't get to see this play out, though, is the morality system in general. They said that they wanted to do something a little less binary than in the first game. So there's some subtle changes that happen depending on if you're being an honorable character or being a scoundrel. Like the soundtrack will change, too, like in
weird.
combat. So I guess it takes on a different tone. And your animations will change also, like your facial animations. You might look meaner and
That's
love it.
insane.
Being a stinker.
Oh my god.
Yeah, your posture will change as well.
Yeah.
I'm going full Man in Black. I'm just going for
The
it.
kill cams will change too. Like they're gorier if you're being a big
I love
stinker.
that.
Yeah.
The world itself. You mentioned you're in a town.
You went to Valentine,
Valentine.
which is kind of like your camp is set at this place called Horseshoe Outlook,
Okay.
and that's your base of operations for Dutch's gang, and it's close by to this like a farming or sheep town called Valentine,
Okay.
and it's fairly good size.
Did you get a look at the map? I mean, it's like I think I saw this, right? It's like kind of overlapping with the original map. So you go to Blackwater and stuff, but it's also a lot of new area. Is that how it lays out? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah,
Anything stand out about Valentine or anything like that?
just the level of fidelity for everything in the world.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
And when's it coming out again?
October
26th.
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 Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be huge. I mean, we have to do a game club on it. It's just, it's
You have
got to
to.
happen. We can't dodge this thing.
Yeah, and I went into this like I try to be fairly immune to hype and everything. It's like
Yeah.
I adored Red Dead Redemption, but that was not a flawless game by any means. And especially going back to it, you're like, oh, I don't remember. This characterization is kind of weird, and the elements of it kind of stuck. I was like, oh, okay, this hasn't aged well. But for the most part, like if you have not played Red Dead, it holds up very well still
Okay.
to
Yeah.
this day. But had concerns going into the second one. Like I'm excited to play it, but it has a lot of hype around it and a lot of expectations. They haven't shown a whole lot about it. They've shown some extensive trailers and some like informative videos, like here are the different systems. But playing it, it's like, oh, yeah, these guys are the best at what they do. Like in terms of just creating open worlds and everything.
Yeah.
And yeah,
It's
I've
the
been
real
waiting
deal.
for this game since these new consoles came out, basically.
Yeah,
You
for
know,
sure.
like-
it
8
looks
years.
so good.
Oh God, this is exactly what I needed to hear. Like the last trailer upped my hype significantly from just kind of the vague story trailers before. But all right,
Yeah, because I went on a road trip too to the like Yellowstone and that part of the country, and
Yeah.
it was just like, oh yeah, this is exactly what this looks like.
good job, guys.
They're so good
You made
at
the stuff
nailing
look
that
like the stuff.
Yeah,
You know, like even going back to GTA 4, the most realistic New York I've ever been in. GTA 5, the most realistic Los Angeles area I've ever been in. You know, they not only nail the terrain and the look, but the vibe of the places.
Absolutely.
yeah. I can't wait. Red Dead Redemption 2. Did you write more about it for the site? Can people find anything?
Yeah, there's going to be something on the site.
Okay, look on the site, GameInformer.com. There'll be something really
that
cool.
one, yeah.
Also, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk to you about the closing of Capcom Vancouver.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Dead Rising 3 and 4 developers.
Yeah.
And in theory, probably Dead Rising for at least a long while here.
Seems like it. They buried they took a $40 million hit to cancel the projects.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
For whatever they're working on, maybe 5, maybe something smaller. We don't really know. Cork, would you like to say goodbye to Dead Rising in any way? You're number one fan in the office
I
here.
love Dead Rising. Yeah, it's such a bummer because like when Capcom acquired, like renamed Blue Castle Games,
Yeah.
it was a big deal. It was still part of, like, if I remember correctly, like Inafune when he was still there, it was a
Yep.
big deal, like the East-West partnership, and that was like a big component of it is having a Western studio there, and shifting over the duties for Dead Rising, and yeah, it was a bummer. Those guys are super passionate, and I thought they made fun, good games.
Yeah, Vancouver devs can't get a break, man. That city is hit more so than others with major closure. You know, United
Yeah.
Front, the Sleeping Dogs guys,
That's
they
right.
Black Box. You know, like there's been a lot of really talented teams that kind of just fold. And I'm curious if EA swoops in and just grabs a bunch of them for their open world Star Wars. game.
Yeah, or Coalition. They need more developers for like Gears Tactics games, or
Yeah.
whatever the hell they're working on up there. I feel like they've been quiet since
Yeah.
E3, but
I wonder
just
if you-
absorbing into the fold.
There's no way of knowing for sure, but I can't imagine that, like, with Dead Rising 3's exclusivity for Xbox One and then the timed exclusivity for Dead Rising 4, that
They-
couldn't have helped things overall.
What do you mean?
Just in terms of, like, keeping those games away from the PlayStation 4 player base.
True, but I mean, there's always that weird thing where who knows if they would have been made without those deals. Like maybe they needed those to kind of help
Oh,
them
yeah.
limp along to the finish line, you know?
Yeah.
We have no idea, but that seems likely. Dead Rising, rest in peace. If you had to play one, Cork.
If you had to play one Dead Rising,
Yeah, in honor of the studio closing.
oh boy, I would play Dead Rising 2 off the record, maybe.
Really?
Yeah,
Off the record specifically?
yeah.
Okay. 4, are you a 3 or a 4 guy at this point? Which do you prefer?
Of the 3 and 4, 4 is so different, but I really like 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
I know
so off the
made
record,
a lot of
4.
people very mad, but
That's right.
What are you
I
gonna
forgot about that? Okay, it's time for sports, Jeff Cork.
it's time for sports.
And you can't get excited for sports without clapping vigorously into a microphone.
I'm going to clap for my team.
Yeah, here
Is
we
that
go.
what I'm doing? Here we go.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, Jeff Cork, but we do have Brian Shea here now.
Hey,
Mr. Sports himself.
Mr. Sports.
So you've been playing NBA 2K19,
I sure have.
and Bert's, you reviewed NBA 2K19.
Yes.
And what score did you land on for that thing?
Gave it a 9.
9. Always solid this series. Over how many years now? What's the streak?
Oh man, I mean it's
as long as I can remember,
2
really.
decades of being the best basketball option out there.
It's just amazing. I started up on Steam a little bit last night, which, by the way, the reviews are like mostly negative because they say everybody's cheating online on Steam. I don't know what it's like on console. But I started up last night and just the production values of this thing, always amazing. Like if you don't play sports games, it's worth just dabbling and looking at some gameplay videos every once in a while because like it is so incredibly well done. Even just the intro when you're creating the character and he's like, this is for the story mode, and he's like walking around in that space and there's like the guide being like, oh, how's your taxi ride over? How you doing? Okay, just stand over here. We'll choose your weight real quick. Just get a picture. Like the dialogue is just so natural.
Yeah, and like when you choose your height, he's like, oh man, you're taller than I thought you were.
It's so good and so cool, but that's about as far as I am. But overall, what stands out to you, Bertz?
This is the only sports game I feel that pushes on all fronts every year. EA is notorious for like completely neglecting modes for several years in a row. And then finally, you get a payoff. But if you're like a franchise mode guy, you're left out in the, in the rain, and you're like, well, what about me? You guys just help those people. 2K never really does that. They always try to improve every mode they have going. So this year, like the neighborhood's better. They redesigned it. So
Much better.
Yeah, it's easier to get around, and you see more people there. It doesn't feel so weird like a zombie movie like 28 Days Later where like
This is kind of like
there's
a
just a
multiplayer
bunch of
lobby.
zombies standing there like this, like
There still is some of that,
you
though.
see a little bit of that, but if people aren't active on their control stick right away, they don't appear in the world. So once they start moving, then they'll drop in. But you'll still see guys on their phone because, that's your predominant way that you're upgrading your guy and stuff like that.
That's realistic anyway.
The story mode is not as like wince-inducing as it was last time with Be Fresh. Last year was just an awful story.
I mean, I don't know if it was worse than Frequency Vibrations.
Nothing can beat Freak. Don't ever bash Freak in this place.
But it is weird that your guy's name is AI, which
It's a dumb name.
is a
Yeah.
nickname for another legendary basketball player.
Who's that?
Allen Iverson.
Yeah,
Got it.
They had a statue of in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Why would you use AI?
Yeah,
It's so
dumb.
weird.
Also, I was struck by the story mode. It's so crazy to me that it starts out and you're playing in Shanghai.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's really
awesome.
unique. We're like, all of the commentary is in Chinese. You don't really know what's going on. Your character's also feeling out of place. It's such a good place to start a story for like, you have a long ways to go and you're starting in the most foreign place this player can imagine.
So I've played through all the story modes since they started doing like the really like guided intros to these stories, and I think this is the first time they've really nailed it.
Really?
With like the intro, like the first one that they really went like super hands on was the Spike Lee one, right?
That's
Yeah,
16.
the one before that was pretty cutscene heavy too, but you had more choice.
Yeah,
And that's the one thing that I guess I lament about this. The cutscenes are really well done. It's well acted.
Yeah, they're
super
They're
long
Kojima
sometimes.
length though sometimes. I mean, you can just sit there for 15 minutes waiting for your opportunity to have an input
Right.
into what's going on.
But like coming off of long shot mode for Madden, which I know you're disappointed by, but it's like, that was enough for me. I still enjoyed that experience. But then going into this, like, this is just on another level.
Oh,
it
for
is
sure.
So
completely
amazing.
because like you eventually get to your character that you're developing their career, and you get to play as many games as you want to do that, and like take your character into the world. It's just it's so much more impactful.
Yeah, the guy
Yeah.
you're controlling in this like 3 or 4 hour cutscene heavy mode, it just carries seamlessly into a career. Like, all right, now I'm in the NBA and I'm playing like in like a normal franchise kind of situation, or you could go out and play street ball against other people online. So like, it is cool the way it just transitions from this story mode to that.
And what about the most important detail that Haley Joel Osment is actually in the story mode this year? He's like the social media guy. Is that right?
Yeah, he's kind of a hype marketing guy who tries to like get more attention on your career.
So is Anthony Mackie? He's there.
Oh, he's the Falcon?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's fun. Overall, you enjoyed it. Okay, beyond story mode, what else stands out?
I'm a big fan of the changes they did to franchise mode, which has its own story. This time you take control of a expansion franchise and have to build it off the ground. That's a little more hokey in terms of like the characterizations that you're dealing with. The new owner is this kind of redneck billionaire Texan, and the conversations with him are terrible. Like Yosemite Sam kind of like one-liners all over the place.
That actually sounds pretty good.
But there are some cool things that they try to do. Like I like modes like this because no one explores stories there, and there's so many stories behind the scenes in sports. And like you get a little taste of that in this year's story where there's a leaker in your organization that's like kind of hampering your ability to recruit guys, and like all the prospects are mad because some really brutally honest reports came out about what your organization thinks about them, and a rival GM is kind of taunting you about it. So I love that there's some of that real drama in there, but then they just take it in weird cartoony directions, and I wish they would just focus on more 30 for 30 behind the scenes drama.
Yeah, but then I'm hearing about all this tumult like behind the scenes, and then you got LeBron James in one conversation. So
Apparently I'm a brilliant negotiator. I got the best basketball player in the world to sign with my expansion team.
But what is that like? Is it like a dialogue tree?
Yeah.
Is it like Detroit Become Human, but you get LeBron James instead of the android not dying?
So they have like conversations with multiple types of people in your organization that's been in the game for several years, and you have a sit down with him, and you can ask him what he thinks of your organization. You can give him a pitch for why he should be on your team. And my pitch was like, you can be like the assistant GM basically, and like tell me what you think about these moves. That never came up again. He signed with me, and I mean my team was really good right out of the bat. We went to the playoffs the first year. We had a really high pick as well, so I was able to take a team from nothing to something really quickly. But I mean, it's just cool that there's an option to do that kind of stuff. And on top of that, they keep iterating on the franchise mode in other ways too. There's a new mentorship thing. So like, if you have a guy like LeBron on your team who's been around the world, he's got all the badges in the game, you can assign a young player to kind of go under his wing and learn from him, and you can accelerate their progression forward. I love that. I want that in every sports game now.
Yeah. Shay, what do you play these games for?
I like the single player focused career modes.
Just that.
Like
okay.
I play that in Madden every year. I play it in MLB every year, and I love this. And I mean, that's what I played the most in UFC when I was playing that all the time.
Yeah.
But I do like franchise mode a lot. I haven't really dove into 2K's franchise mode yet, but there's a lot of really cool stuff, it sounds like.
Do you get into like the online scene? Is
Not
that
really.
pretty competitive? Is it just tough to dive into that world?
I don't like it for a couple reasons. I like the idea of it because you can go play in the park in the neighborhood. They have a
Right.
new cages thing that's got trampoline basketball.
I don't like the
that's kind of
cages at all.
arcadey.
Trampoline basketball?
Yeah, they have a whole like competitive pro-am league 5v5 where you can build your teams and compete there. So they give you a lot of stuff to do. I don't like the infrastructure for how they do it. Because a lot of times it's like you have to go stand on the court and watch other people play like you're at a pool hall, where you're waiting to get next and you put your quarter on the pool table. It's just a waste of my time. I'm busy. I have a kid. I have a million games I got to play. I got movies to watch, books to read. Why am I wasting my time standing on this virtual court watching all these yahoos play basketball?
There's no like
I don't
quick match
care.
or anything?
No,
Like-
not for the
Not
park
for that,
stuff.
yeah.
Oh, that's so weird. But
It's
it
really
feels
weird. Like
realistic,
there
I
are
guess.
two spots on the side of like the 2v2 courts.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, you and your teammate have to stand there on that circle and wait for the other people to finish their game, like you're on some like real court.
Can you applaud or do anything to like troll them or
No,
anything?
you stand there
so.
like a robot. And they have quick match ways to get into the pro-am stuff. The Jordan Rec League, you just go into a building and then you're in matchmaking.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. And the other thing I don't like about it is the matchmaking's not great because this game does have the microtransaction component where you can get your level up to a certain level. It's like 85. You can buy that right away if you want. And a lot of people do that, but they don't pair you up with people that are similarly leveled. So if you're a 60, which you start at, which is way too low still, I say it in the review, like, they need to be at 70 so your basketball player feels like at least he's an athlete instead of like, like a 60-year-old judge in like a YMCA at 6 a.m. You're like, that's how slow you feel when you start the game.
Perfect.
Dudes are just blowing past you. It's really frustrating that they don't start you a little bit higher.
Okay.
It's quicker to ramp up this year, but if there's going to be people that are 60s, why are you pairing up against 88s who have a bunch of badges unlocked? It's just, it doesn't make a lot of sense. You're not encouraging that person to have a good experience.
Yeah.
The other person, I mean, everybody likes to beat up on somebody who sucks, right?
It's got to be fun, yeah. So the microtransactions beyond that, though, they're not as aggressive this year? Or is
I
there any
I get a lot of shit for this because
Yeah.
I gave the game a 9. I love the game. The basketball on the court is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I like playing the basketball game. I do.
Yeah.
I don't need to spend money on it to have fun with it. I understand the frustrations, but I feel like there's a disconnect there, and we've talked about this before on the podcast. This game does not suffer the Battlefront 2, like, this is an egregious pay-to-win thing that destroys the game and there's no fun to be had in it. I've played these games hundreds of hours. I love it. I love the game. And there are microtransactions. I don't participate in it because I'm not into the online scene. I don't really care about having the coolest jersey or weird haircuts.
But that's where it gets pretty predatory?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say, I don't know if it's predatory.
I think in the park it's a little bit more so, because like you said, you can buy up to an 85. So if you're just kind of like, hey, I'm going to jump in and play in the park and play 2v2, and we were like 68 or 70, and then we were going up against guys who were 85 and 88. It was like we were getting smoked, and no matter how good we were, like because they had a better character, they were destroying us. And
if you have better matchmaking, I don't know that that's necessarily a problem.
Sure,
much.
I mean, when it's just stand on the side of the court, that's what you're going to get.
But I mean, you can only get up to that 85 cap, and you can get to that if you like the game like I do, and you don't mind playing the NBA career. You're going to be able to get to that. It's going to take you some time. I see where people have frustrations with it, but there's so much else going on in this game that it doesn't ruin the game for me like it does for other people. And I understand like that position. I do, but I don't feel the same way, and I don't necessarily think you do either.
I don't hate it, but that's also because I play mostly offline.
Yeah.
Like I wish that they've gotten better with allowing you to progress a little bit faster this time around. Like I think last year it was a bit of a nightmare to progress. I wish they would let you go a little bit faster, but it's still not like the end of the world. I think I'm up to like a 76 or 77 right now with my guy. But like I can definitely see the frustration when you go online and in the park. That's the only area where I'm like, screw this. But also, the one thing I don't like is like with your virtual currency, you get like that's how you upgrade your skills. But you also have to decide whether you want to upgrade your skills or go buy a new pair of shoes or like get a haircut or something. Like that's a little annoying.
Well, the haircuts are free this year.
Oh, they are? Yeah. Okay, I haven't done a haircut yet.
After Haircut Gate last year.
Yeah, last year it was like, all right, well, if you want a beard, you have to spend money.
Oh, that's right.
That's really
that was just
dumb.
like the lightning rod for everybody saying like, this is why this game's BS.
But yeah, those are my two only annoyances with the microtransactions.
Yeah,
there we go.
Going back to the production values, though, the commentary is incredible. Like this year, they introduced a rotating cast of commentators. So like if you're on the Lakers and you're playing a game, like for half the game, they might have Kobe Bryant in there like commentating, or like
they had that last year, but yeah, they're built upon it again this
like
year.
they had Kevin Garnett on one of the Timberwolves games.
And it sounds natural enough?
It's not like these guys are definitely in the booth together, but like it. Or like they didn't record as many lines as like the mainstay commentators, but yeah, it sounds fine. It's not like a joke.
Oh, that's
it's
cool.
kind of like when you have a guest commentator during an actual live sports broadcast where they'll ask them a question where they're talking about some facet of the team for an extended period. So it's filling in that, they're not doing like passes to this guy, passes to this guy. It feels more like a real broadcast where, they don't need to say something about every single thing that happens.
Right.
Instead, they're like giving context, and it makes it feel like it's a real NBA presentation.
Yeah, they do a great job with it.
Here's a dumb question. In any sports, is there a female commentator? Like, who's the most famous?
Yeah, Doris Burke is in this game. Yeah.
Oh, really?
She's
Okay,
one
so
of the
NBA
guests
is one of the big ones?
Yep.
Okay. In NFL?
NFL has female broadcasters that
But
do
usually like on the
play-by-play.
field and stuff, right? But they
Well,
do play-by-play.
No, there's a couple play-by-play people that do college football and
But not in the
NFL.
game, not in like Madden.
Not in Madden
Okay,
just
right.
has the two guys.
They
that
used to have Aaron Andrews on the sidelines in NCAA, right? Or was that Madden?
I don't remember which.
It was one of them.
Really? That's fun. Okay, so NBA 2K19 9.0. You love
Yes,
it.
Very
I do.
good.
Reviews on the site. Real quick, NHL 19.
Yeah,
You gave that a what?
8.5.
8.5.
That's the highest score for NHL in a long time.
Really?
Yeah.
It's cooled off. I feel like people love those games.
No, like the last generation, like when you were talking about NHL 9 to 14, those were solid games. When they
Okay.
made the console jump, they did what they did with Madden the generation before inexplicably, and they cut off a bunch of stuff that used to be in the game, and they've been working from behind this whole generation.
Okay.
This is the first one where unequivocally, if you're a hockey fan, you should buy this one. The skating's way better. The collision physics are way better. They fixed some franchise mode stuff that's needed fixing for a long time. They've introduced some new modes that are a little different.
Okay. Including like pond hockey, right?
Yeah, World of Chell is their new
That's right. World of Chell.
NHL.
Favorite Portal
Chell is the
crossover.
nickname.
Come on.
So they have like a 1v1v1 kind of free-for-all mode called Ones That's just like, it's perfect for couch co-op.
Yeah.
But you can only play it online. It's really dumb. I don't know why it's not a couch co-op game.
What the hell? Really?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Especially for NHL, because most of the modes you can play co-op and do all kinds of stuff with, with multiplayer.
Yeah.
But that mode, for whatever reason, they didn't do it this year. It's really weird.
Weird.
But I feel like that's a stepping stone. I feel like next year they're going to build big off that. And I wouldn't be surprised if the career mode, which has been neglected for a long time in NHL, ends up in that package. So you create your guy, and then you can play in the NHL, you can play on the ponds, you can take him into the EA Sports Hockey League. That's my guess for next year.
Gotcha.
But this year, awesome hockey game.
Awesome. Hey, would you do me a favor? Just in your free time. I know you don't have a lot because you have books and movies to absorb and all that stuff. Can you just give me a graph of every sports year, every single game, so I can see when they're up and when they're down? Just like Game Informer throughout. Wouldn't that be fun? Like every review for every sports game Game Informer's ever done. Just from the origin of the magazine. I want to see the graph of Madden every year. Wouldn't that be fun to look at?
Yeah.
Okay, Shay. Maybe you can do it then.
No.
Okay, great. Hey, for now, do you want to clap out there, Bertz?
Sure.
Thank you.
Packers.
Oh, Jeff Cork's back,
Hey,
ladies and gentlemen. What
hi.
a twist. Oh, what a game, huh?
What a game.
Sights, the sounds. That's right, boys. Baseball's back.
Crack.
And Ben Reeves is here.
Here I am.
And Shay's still here as well.
Yeah.
We heard it go back in time a little bit, which is why I got Cork, old man timing himself. Did I go with the PlayStation Classic?
Yeah.
On Wednesday.
Wow.
Can we just call
What a
it the
surprise.
PlayStation old, if you're being honest here?
PlayStation Old one spelled out. What a fun thing. Woke up Wednesday morning, checked my phone, and it was like, whoa, what a delight. I'm so happy when companies just rip off Nintendo. What a thrill.
Yeah, I was convinced it was just a terrible Photoshop.
Oh,
I was
yeah?
like, a little late for this, guys. But
And so it is a miniaturized PlayStation 1
Yeah.
with 2 controllers, no analog sticks, which is interesting.
Kinda
It
disappointing.
limits the games, but we'll talk about
Well, it
it.
doesn't
later.
limit that many games from the PS1. Honestly.
Well, Ape Escape.
My point still stands.
There's enough where, like, I think people would like to use an analog stick for some of those
Sure.
games and stuff. The analog version of, was it Resident Evil 2 that they re-released? Resident Evil 1 with, like, the analog edition. Remember
Right.
that?
Yep.
That was weird.
They re-released that game way too many times.
Yeah, and that's what this segment's about.
How many times did they re-release Resident Evil?
PlayStation Classic, everybody. So it's going to be bundled with 20 games. What a thrill. What was your emotion seeing that, Cork?
it's small.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is going to be a wake-up call for nostalgia heads out there.
Yep.
Because unlike the NES Classic and the SNES Classic, I'm going to bet that those games have not aged as well in the minds of the players as their imaginations may lead them
That's
to
just
believe.
every old game, though. Do you think it's
But
different for the PlayStation?
I think
1?
sprites hold up better. A very
Yeah.
controversial
Oh, for sure.
opinion than paddle hand, Dire Straits, money for nothing weirdos. Like seriously, when was the last time you were like, "Mother, I need to play Jumping Flash. I've got to play that first-person platformer with
But
the
that's
robot
like
rabbit."
novelty early PlayStation. It's fun to include
Yeah.
the games that are just going to have withered away with the passage of time. Isn't it like there's something thrilling about, like, let's show some games that maybe went for more than they could handle out of the gate? No? You would just
Fun
want the
to
most polished stuff?
revisit those like by checking a game out of our vault, but not by spending $100 on a PlayStation Classic.
Well, but there'll be some good ones on there.
there will be like Castlevania Symphony of the Night. If that's on there, it'll be great. You know why? Because it's a 2D game.
Right. Heart of
early
Darkness
3D games are
holds
really
up so
rough.
well. That's true. Okay, so what they've announced 5 games so far.
Yes.
All right. In order of importance, in my mind, Jumping Flash, number 1.
most important.
Ridge Racer Type 4.
Okay.
Ridge Racer. Then we have Wild Arms, which I think is a very fun game to get out of the gate with, and just in terms of, like, that would be everybody's collectively 36th choice, and I just love that it's like, nope, out of the gate, Wild Arms. Like, this is going to be an eccentric bundle. Then we have Tekken 3. Great choice.
Yeah.
Great choice.
I'm in on that.
And Final Fantasy 7 on this thing. It's so stupid that I
Where
get
else would
excited.
you play Final Fantasy VII?
It's so stupid that it just comes it comes on the heels of them announcing for Nintendo Switch, where it's like, we
And
just played
Xbox One.
Yeah. Where it's like, I just played that for the Game Club a couple years ago, but still is like,
It was still good though.
I might want to play it again on Switch. And then seeing this, it's like, I kind of want to play it on the original
Yeah.
PlayStation controller. There's something kind of appealing about
That's
that. I'm a complete sucker for this. Like, I'm going to buy it, But more so even than I think Super Nintendo Classic or anything else, it's like, I don't know if I'm going to sit down and, what am I going to do? Play through Wild Arms? No sane human being in the year 2018 should play through all of Wild Arms.
I'm going to do the same thing I did with the SNES Classic, where I'm going to buy it and then keep it in its box.
Yes.
It's so this thing that has been mass-produced a billion times is like collector-worthy by any stretch of the imagination. Like, I'm just going to be like, this is a thing that I really ought to get around to doing sometime.
You don't even want to like put it on a shelf and like look at it like, oh, look at this miniature
What do you think?
version
I'm just
of my
going to throw it on the
childhood.
floor under the sink?
Cork,
Oh, I'm sorry.
I will put it on a
misheard you.
shelf.
Cork,
Yeah.
if I went to your house, though,
Yes.
I evacuated your wife and lovely children.
What?
I evacuated
You
them
yuck.
from the house.
Gross.
And then I took like lumber.
Oh, careful. There's
took lumber and like sealed you in your house.
Okay.
You could not leave. You'd have like I wouldn't cut off your water supply.
Uh-huh.
I'd keep giving you some bread with tang on it so you could.
How much am I
sustain
paying you for
yourself.
this?
The slits.
No, so you're
I'll pay you $10,000 for this.
you're like under house arrest.
Okay.
How long until you would beat Wild Arms on the PlayStation?
Beat Wild
Classic?
Arms. I don't know. How long is that game?
I'm gonna guess. Leo, can you look up how long to beat for Wild Arms?
I never played it, so maybe it's my favorite game. I just didn't know it.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Solid. It's the
But
cool
see,
Western RPG.
Are you asking how long until he got around to playing
I'm just
it?
saying he's totally right. Where it seems great, but you're never going to do it. It's like in my mind, it's like I want to play more Skyrim on the Switch. I was just on a plane for a very long period of time, had Skyrim on the Switch, and I still wasn't compelled to play it. And at some point, you got to rip that Band-Aid off and realize you're not going to play these old games. But still, a super fun announcement for the PlayStation Classic.
Yeah, I was
It's-
really happy to see it.
Yeah.
I'm a lot less likely to spend money on this than I was the NES or SNES.
yeah.
I feel kind of the same way, even though I probably spent more time on the original PlayStation than I did the NES or SNES, but I was more excited about the SNES. I think because of the way those games hold up. Like that list of 5 games they announced.
Yeah.
Aside from Final Fantasy VII, I don't think I'm really that excited to go back to any of those.
Right. We still have 15 games to go, folks. Like, what
Yeah.
would get you excited? Symphony of the Night was mentioned.
Tony Hawk.
Tony Hawk, which one?
I'd say the first two.
Just put them both on there?
I mean, get the original skaters, the original music. I'm in.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't think they'd modify the code. That'd be.
I mean, they have to get licensing. Who knows? I mean, when they re-released Crazy Taxi on Xbox 360, it had no Offspring.
Yeah, I wonder.
interesting.
I didn't even think about that. If they have like released Tony Hawk, but it doesn't have Goldfinger Superman in
Oh
there,
yeah, that's a deal breaker.
no deal. I'm gonna bust this thing in half at that
Yes.
point. I'll be so outraged. And I like the idea of them focusing on earlier games in the PlayStation lifespan.
Give
Like,
me Battle Arena Toshinden.
yeah,
Give me Destruction Derby.
give me IQ.
Give me.
I would love IQ.
The
That'd be
intelligent
such a
cube
weird
itself.
oddball choice.
It'd be so fun. But if they're choosing, Jumping Flash for Christ's sake and Wild
Yeah.
Arms, like IQ worthy, I say.
Yeah.
Stuff like okay, we talked about it in the office. There's something on the site as well, but like people want like Chrono Cross, like some of the great RPGs for the PlayStation. I don't know. Like I bet they would save the later gen stuff for like a next wave when they have the analog in there. They get Ape Escape. They get kind of like the Vandal Hearts or sorry, not Valiant Hearts.
Yes.
Sorry. Vagrant Story is the game I'm thinking of.
Holy crap.
Not
All right.
Vandal
What a journey.
Hearts. Vandal Hearts could go on the earlier version, but don't you guys think that would make sense? Like the PlayStation
2?
98 through 2000 with the analog stick, like that's the wave 2?
You think that's their plan? They would do a version 2 rather
Yes.
than like PS2 mini?
I bet they would do a version 2 of PS1 before the PS2 Mini.
I would hate that so much.
Really?
Yes.
They're going
I
to do
hate
it.
it when companies release new things.
It's such a bummer.
Yeah, people would buy it again.
They would absolutely do
Even
it.
if there was like 10 games on overlapping between the two.
So you'd have to
Yeah.
have twice as many systems to play the things that all went on the same system back in the day. That makes no sense.
But a lot of this is for people who don't like buy a lot of modern consoles, right? Don't you think? A lot of this is just like tapping into
Yeah, but,
nostalgia.
like-
It's like you haven't played games in a while, but guess what? Here's all your favorite games
But
from
if you
your
still
childhood.
have, I don't know.
Guess what? Your
It-
childhood's smaller now. Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
But now it's twice as many if you do the double.
Well, look, we're
PS1.
complaining about something hypothetical.
Or buy this and like throw it in your like cabin or, your summer house.
Right. Everybody's got another house.
These are money bags. Your cabin or your summer house.
Or
You
both.
choose
I
your-
might buy two, one for each.
in your apartment where your mistress lives. Just throw it anywhere. It's no big deal.
Whatever. I'm going to buy one for my doghouse.
I have another question. Can my wife and children? Can they stay in your summer house? They've been recently
Yeah, I've already
evacuated.
stocked it with bread tang, so I don't know what it was.
It's
they
going to be
like.
weird to play these games just with the D-pad again on the PlayStation. It's been a while since I've held that controller, you know?
How much time do you think you will spend in each game after hitting start before you bail? Like, what do you think the average time in those 20 games?
I will spend more time with these than, let's say a hypothetical collection of NES games, which I recently played on my Nintendo Switch, which
Really?
we'll talk about in a little bit. Yeah, totally. I love this generation. Like, this is the greatest generation.
Yeah.
Outside of the PlayStation 2.
And the
Which is-
SNES.
Well, look, outside of those great generations, this is one of the strongest. But this
And
is
the
where-
current generation.
This is my console nostalgia, And I know you always poo-poo those newbies out there that didn't start gaming back on the ColecoVision or whatever the hell you
I
were
hate
into,
how
Jeff
they
Cork.
weren't born yet. That's
Well, I remember
stupid.
one time you brought up no one's nostalgic for the N64. You just could not fathom that. And it's like,
Really?
dude, do you
I think
understand?
there are, yeah.
Oh my
Not-
God, it's huge.
They're not correctly nostalgic.
Oh,
Correct
yeah.
nostalgia is such a stupid idea. Okay, any other games you guys would love to see on this thing? Like, is there a make or break? Are you all going to buy it at this point, or is there anything that'll put you over the edge
You can
for?
have Twisted Metal on there, one of them,
Yeah,
right?
I hope they do one. I know it's not as good as 2,
Yeah.
but I love it, and I feel like it's a good historical timestamp.
I don't know what would totally. Honestly, I might buy it for IQ if IQ was on there. It's such a weird oddball. If they go that far out, that'd be great. I'd love Metal Gear Solid, but I feel like I played that game so many times.
Also,
I
I'd
don't know
want
if
the
that would-
analog stick for Metal Gear
Yeah,
Solid.
I agree. Final Fantasy Tactics, another one of my favorite games of all time. I might go back and play it for that.
Okay. Yep. I saw Reset Era. They had an interesting thread recently where they were talking. This is a forum online, if you're not familiar. But they're like, why are people excited about this? Like the PlayStation TV or like the Vita TV was cheaper. It had a la carte all these PlayStation games, and you guys didn't care about it. You didn't buy it.
This
Like,
is small.
it's more
It's the
direct
shape, yeah.
nostalgia. It's the shape. How silly is that, though?
It is. 100%.
Real dumb.
But lovable, $100.
Yeah.
But
Jay
it's,
hates
it's
it.
so adorable. I wonder if this will be as easy to hack as like the SNES Classic.
Undoubtedly.
Just throw more games on there.
Yeah. Exciting times. I hope so.
Yeah.
Anyways, cool. I can't wait to press that PlayStation button. I hope it feels like it's kind of like rickety and hollow for the power buttons as
Is
the
it going to have
original
that
did.
startup sound?
Oh, if they don't do that,
It's a failed venture.
get the hell out of here.
In 30 years, do you think there'll be an iPad mini for like other people?
There already is an
growing up
iPad mini.
now. And no, shut up. I'm thinking of it.
Yeah,
It's
that's
all in one
funny.
package with iPad games.
Yeah, and you have to have like a little extension that takes your finger and then turns into like a smaller finger on the end.
When are they going to release that finger?
Yeah. All right, can't wait for the finger. But hey, PlayStation Classic, exciting times. Jeff Cork, do you want to get the hell out of here?
Yes.
Okay, see you, buddy.
Go team.
Kyle Hilliard, here we go. He joined the fray. Get Jeff Cork out of here.
Get him out of here.
Nintendo Online.
Oh my god.
Oh, that's what you're
Guys, I just finished looking it up. Wild Arms is 29 hours straight.
Oh my god.
Oh, Nintendo Online, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. This thing launched this week.
Yep.
What a fun thing to now have to pay for something that you had for free.
Oh, that's lovely.
Eh,
Oh
okay.
my god, the Splatoon community is in mourning.
Yeah, they should be. I bet I would love to see the stats of like how many people drop out.
There are so many. I went into Splatoon 2 last night, and
Yeah.
it was so many people like, I can't afford $20 a year. My mom won't let me have the credit card.
Oh man.
we were like,
I
Courtney and I
guess
were
this is
talking-
goodbye.
We were talking about how much of a bummer that was because that game is so focused on young players who don't have access to a credit card, obviously,
Yeah.
and like it's a really safe multiplayer game that's not violent in any way, and they are cutting their audience pretty significantly.
I really wish they would have like grandfathered everyone, like all the games that came out beforehand. in.
to free service.
Yeah, like I mean, it kind of is crappy that they have to pay now for something that they were getting for free, and they're getting no additional features for that game.
For that specific
like if
game,
they're if that's
yeah.
the only game they play, they now have to pay $20 extra just to play that one
right,
game.
Right.
Yeah, it's a
And it's
bummer.
like, well, maybe you should just appreciate that it went so long before you had to pay. You know, who knows? But this is so tough to gauge. But you know, it's not too expensive. How much is it a year for this thing?
20.
$20. Reasonable. So last night we all messed around with it a little bit. Seems like the star of the show obviously is having 15 NES games.
20.
Is it 20?
Yeah,
One
and
for
then-
every dollar you have less in your pocket now.
That's right. And then there'll be 3 more every month for the next, at least the next
Ah.
3 months. And
Right.
Metroid is part of that group.
Yeah. So coming up in the future, October. Hold on to your hats, boys. They're adding Solomon's Key. NES
Finally.
Open, Super Dodgeball, November, Metroid, Mighty Bomb Jack. and Twinbee. December, heavy hitters, Wario's Woods, Ninja Gaiden, Adventures of Lolo.
Okay.
But for now, we have...
No Mario 2 in here?
Isn't that odd?
yeah.
Also, God, there's another... Oh, Punch-Out! Isn't in here either.
Oh yeah.
No Excite Bike, right?
Well, they have... Yeah, that's in there now.
No Zelda
is it?
2. Yeah, Excite Bike's in there.
Zelda 2.
So
is
here's
not
what
in
is at launch. You can now play on your Nintendo Switch, which is fun to play old games on your Switch. We have baseball, ice hockey, Yoshi, Excite Bike, Pro Wrestling, Gradius, Tecmo Bowl, Ghosts and Goblins, River City Ransom, Double Dragon, Super Mario Bros. 3, Legend of Zelda, Dr. Mario, Ice Climber, Balloon Fight, Super Mario Brothers, Donkey Kong, Tennis, and Soccer. What do you guys think about playing those games?
A lot of those are duds.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Let's cross some out.
yeah.
Let's go down the list here. Which ones are we getting rid of?
I mean, I want to say the sports titles because I don't care about those. I don't care about baseball and
Ice
tennis.
hockey. Ice hockey's good.
Ice hockey, I'll leave. Tennis.
We were playing that last night.
I played
I'll kill
tennis
it.
a little bit, and I failed pretty badly because I'm so used to Mario Tennis now, where
Right.
you hit the button before the ball comes at you. I was like, wait, I gotta time this.
Yeah, this
What
one
is this tennis?
This one came out before. Okay, so we're
Yeah.
crossing those out. Donkey Kong, the subpar arcade port.
yeah.
Classic
I like
enough.
that on there. That's
All right.
I would.
I mean,
yeah.
it's neat that it's on there, but honestly,
All
are
right.
you gonna play it?
I'll leave it on there.
Well, yeah.
I'll
What's
give
the
it a pass.
criteria? If we will actually play it extensively,
Fun to play now.
Fun to play now. Okay.
Worth having
Cross-
on your Switch.
Cross off everything except Dr. Mario.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so Dr. Mario's a lock.
With Mario 3 is a lock.
Mario 3 is a
3.
lock.
Yeah.
I mean, the original Mario and the original Zelda.
I will give it to original Mario and Zelda, even though I would disagree on half.
I
I don't think they've aged great, but you know they're classics that
Sure.
are worthy of having on.
I
there.
will kill original Mario Brothers,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's-
Okay.
I mean, you have that in Mario 3.
right? Ice Climber, I'll kill.
Oh yeah, I played that a bit
Okay,
last
yeah.
night.
Double Dragon, I'll marry.
Double
Um,
Double
where do you guys
Dragon.
stand on Double Dragon and River City Ransom?
River City
will
Ransom
F.
is better.
River City Ransom is better.
Okay, so that keeps. Double Dragon,
If
are we
we're-
killing?
One of the I did not enjoy my time with Double Dragon last night.
I mean,
But I have
a lot
no
of,
nostalgia for that
I have a
series.
lot of nostalgia for that, but yeah, it doesn't hold up super well.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, Double Dragon. Ooh, that's
Sorry.
tough. Ghosts and Goblins, too hard. Tecmo Bowl, I'll
Yeah,
keep.
keep.
Okay.
Gradius, no go. Pro
Yeah.
Wrestling, no go.
Nope.
Excite Bike,
Man, that's
Novel.
one I really
Novelty.
loved in the day, but yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't. I don't know.
I'll keep it.
a weird
Yoshi, gotta go.
Really?
Ice hockey, keep.
I like
I would
Yoshi.
fight for Yoshi.
Would
I
you
like
really?
Yoshi.
Yeah, I like Yoshi. I mean, the puzzle games I feel like are still pretty fun. You know,
Okay.
like
They've
Dr.
aged
Mario.
fairly well. Like,
yeah.
as long as they were good in the day.
yeah,
they're
exactly.
Pretty good.
Like
too.
Wario Woods, I'm excited.
When
I've never
did
played
that game
Wario
release?
Woods. So.
Is that a weird thing where it came out before Super Mario World?
Yeah.
It did, yeah.
It did.
Oh,
That
is
ooh.
such a weird
Wait, no, I
thing.
think it came out after Mario World.
But was an NES game? That's
yeah.
a Game Freak game.
I
isn't it?
believe.
It is Game
I believe
Freak,
that's what
yeah.
happened
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
What a weird
I
thing.
thought it.
All right, that's more than I thought. What do you guys think about playing NES games on your Switch?
They look good.
Yeah.
Sound was cutting out for me a little bit. Like
Oh, really?
the music in Mario 3, I played through the first level, and when I was like running and jumping,
Yeah.
I felt like the music was like missing some notes.
Really?
Like,
Were the
when
sound effects overlapping with because that's what I thought was happening.
It was, but I feel like it wasn't overlapping properly.
Okay. Weird.
Which I could be wrong. Maybe it's just that's how it was, and I'm filling in the blanks with my mind. But
I felt like there was a little bit of lag too.
when you're playing
Maybe-
online, there definitely is.
This is, were you playing online?
I guess I don't know. How does that work?
There's a separate thing for playing online versus just playing locally.
Yeah, you select
choose one player or two player?
2-player or online.
Oh yeah, I was playing offline.
Okay, and
But
there's,
it might have been my TV settings. Is what I'm thinking is maybe because I don't have like switched onto game mode or I haven't looked into that too much.
there are some specific things just with the tech that I think are not great or like subpar compared to NES Classic or even like Wii U's Virtual Console where like you can't remap buttons.
Oh yeah, that was a
Also,
real pain.
am I insane? Is there any way to get rid of the UI on the screen that says like hold ZR and ZL to bring up this menu? It is like
a good
insane
question.
to have that text on the screen at all times. I couldn't find a way to get rid of it.
And
That
the
is so
options
grating.
button just gives you different filters
yeah, exactly.
or settings.
Well,
yeah.
wait. Here's a question, which I couldn't figure. I was trying to figure out last night. Is there a way to change the filter without exiting the game?
Oh, I don't know.
Because I had to make a save state, exit the game, change the filter, reload my
I
save
couldn't
state.
find a way either. That's an interesting
Okay,
thing.
yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
kind of annoying.
save states was it 4 or 5 different slots, which is it's,
4 per game. Yeah.
okay. It's cool to have.
Yeah.
Not exactly revolutionary, but very nice for some of these games. For
Realistically, though, how many times are you guys going to go back to these games after today?
Oh, well, I don't know if you know, but Balloon Fight has a little mode called Balloon Trip, which is endlessly playable and objectively the best game on this list here, folks.
All right.
So I don't know, man. I had a lot of I did have fun taking off the 2 Joy-Cons and just playing Dr. Mario with my wife.
Oh,
just
yeah.
on the Switch. And that was that held up well. It was a fun competition. Like I could see us returning to that one occasionally.
Are you gonna
Armory
get?
is always good.
Yeah.
So they do. They announced in the direct last week that they're also selling the NES controllers, Joy-Cons,
Yeah.
which are cool. You can't use them as normal Joy-Cons. It's just for this, and you need an NES Online subscription to buy them, which is just one of those
That's
weird
super
Nintendo
weird, yeah.
hiccups.
And if you have a family subscription, which is up to 8 Switches on one account,
yeah,
that singular family account can only buy one set of NES controllers.
What a weird thing.
oh Nintendo.
That's one way to prevent selling out instantly.
We want to love you, buddies.
I guess that's what they're going for, right? It's just a really like overt way to prevent scalpers and people buying these things and reselling them.
Yeah.
Right.
And
it
don't
could
they only work with the NES games?
Yes. For now. I mean, who knows? Maybe in the future that could.
There's
change,
got to be a
but-
third-party version of it though that works fully with everything as a normal controller, like 8BitDo or something. Probably released something like that, right?
Yeah,
it
I
could
would
be.
imagine.
But still very exciting. Obviously, like the weirdest thing is you can play these games online. You can start like an online session. Somebody can jump in, play 2-player NES games. Also, in theory, trade off controls back and forth. But Brian Shane, I couldn't figure
We
that out.
could not get it working.
Yeah. Also, it was surprisingly laggy, and I had a good internet connection. I don't know how yours was.
Mine was great. I thought maybe yours was going to be better because you were hosting, but
It was
I
still a
guess
little
not.
bit choppy. And like even running Zelda around, it was hiccuping pretty bad. A lot of little tech things that I hope.
I was
they
wondering if
figure
it
out
was
in the
just on
future.
my side.
And it looks like you're. I don't know the tech behind it, but like it kind of looks like it's like streaming the game to both of you guys in a
don't
weird
know.
way. Like because the overall visual quality of the game went down when I was having internet problems, as opposed to like
Right.
when you're playing
Ah.
like Call of Duty or something, and you have internet problems, you just kind of jump around and lag.
Yeah.
It doesn't change. It's not like watching cable. It's not like streaming Netflix where if your internet goes out, it suddenly gets
It's
all
just
pixelated.
grainy, yeah.
Right.
Like that's what the NES was doing. I felt like the visual quality was going down as the connection got worse.
That's interesting.
But I don't know how it works. That could just be some weird exception. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I do like the little click the right stick, and it seems almost engineered for sarcastic applause.
This is the best thing about it. You can float a cursor around. So like Brian Shea was watching me play Mario 3, or like we were playing tennis, and every time we would just completely whiff on a serve or a hit, just having like the like real quick applause come in. It reminds me of like the cheering and stuff in Triforce Heroes. Remember how much fun that
Yeah.
was? Just
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the weird trolling.
Yeah.
That is the thrill.
And
it's
it's-
like
and-
Mario Party-esque.
And if when you're playing multiplayer, like who was watching who? Hanson,
I was watching him.
You were watching, like, Shay had control of a little cursor on screen, like
Yes.
a little hand that he could use to point to things.
Yeah.
or-
He was telling me that in Mario 3 on the like the black area, the black screen, I have to jump into the little square
Oh, you
to
didn't-
trigger the end of the loop.
You didn't
And
know
I was
that.
I was pointing you into the
Oh.
cave in Zelda. Like that's where you get the sword.
Oh, these hang on, let me write these down. Yeah, that was funny. I was just trying to troll Shay by doing like the complete opposite of what you should be doing, just like walking to the right.
And you're
with
just
this, like-
applauding violently on top of the cube.
Yeah. It's so stupid, but that is such a good Nintendo touch that really makes me
Yeah,
laugh.
yeah, I like it.
So online, a little rickety out of the gate here.
A little bit.
Could be maybe, everyone was signing up. Like, I don't know about you guys, when I was playing pretty much within the first hour or two that it was available.
Well, we
I
were
think.
playing a little bit later.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we'll have to see. Time will tell.
What'd you guys think about the direct last week? What stood out?
Oh, it was
It
fun.
was cool, actually.
It was surprisingly good.
It was a
Yeah.
parade of things that I know people are excited for, but I just am totally not. Like Animal Crossing, Luigi's Mansion. Those
Oh,
are
good
things that I
games?
know people love, and I just could not care
Don't
less
start
about.
with negativity. This is an exciting
I'm
direct,
just saying,
Brian
and
Shea.
people were happy, and I'm happy for them.
I was
Oh, you
actually,
please go ahead.
I was actually surprised how excited I was for a Luigi's Mansion game, which I like that series.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize I had enthusiasm for it the way I do, but when they announced it, I was like, oh, awesome.
It's such a weird Nintendo move, too, where always unpredictable. They have the remake of the first one coming out to 3DS in October. And the idea that they would announce Luigi's Mansion 3 for 2019 before that one's out, it's like
Right.
no other marketing layout plan would allow for this type of swap. It's so insane. And so the crazy thing is then trying to figure out, like, who's making that? Because it was like maybe Next Level Games, who made Luigi's Mansion 2 on 3DS, would be doing the port. Turns out it was Greco, the people who made Ever Oasis. They're doing the port of the original.
And the
so-
Zelda ports, I feel like, are their bigger.
for sure.
Yeah.
And so in theory then, Next Level, I'd imagine, even though they haven't confirmed it, is making Luigi's Mansion 3.
That'd be cool.
For 2019 for Switch. The fine folks over at Game Explain, just check out their YouTube channel. I cannot gush about those guys enough. They
They
were
go
so,
deep on it?
so thorough and everything. They're the ones who made that 2-hour breakdown of one Super Mario Odyssey trailer. And it
Yeah.
was like, oh, they actually pulled out a lot. Mega Man 11, they had more info than our cover story
Yeah.
based on the tease of gameplay.
They figured some things out, let's just
They
say,
really
yeah.
did. And Luigi's Mansion 3, there was like 10 seconds of gameplay, they have a 30-minute video up.
Right.
Yeah.
Like breaking all this stuff down. So
Wow.
definitely check it out. But like they figured out, maybe it's obvious if you're paying attention a little bit, but it's like, it looks like it's a single location again instead of the multiple mansions like in
Oh,
Luigi's Mansion 2, and that it's a hotel this time around.
That's a good idea.
Maybe a Hotel Mario reference. There's also a jump in Luigi's Mansion for the first time ever, but it looks like based on the animation that it's actually the Poltergust like backpack that is like doing the jump, and Luigi's like
Oh, that's
being
cool.
forced around with it. Also, they brought up the very obvious thing that I'm so angry about. I don't understand. But the idea that in this, Luigi has like a plunger that he can launch onto ghosts, and it looks like it has like a rope tail. But they completely showed that during the last Smash Direct.
Oh,
when
crazy.
Luigi's going through Castlevania's little castle there, he
Yeah.
has the Poltergust that's from Luigi's Mansion 3. And then he also launches a plunger
And
at
nobody
the
brought
zombie.
that up, huh?
And no one's like, where's this new thing
You
coming
know what's
from?
crazy is because of that direct, and I think just because like in general, Luigi's kind of like associated with ghosts now.
Yeah.
Like when that started in this direct, I was like, I didn't think about Luigi's Mansion 3.
I
just
thought it was
assumed-
another Smash Brothers
I thought
thing.
it was
Yeah.
maybe a Smash thing.
I
or,
actually
like,
did at
thought
first, too. That's so stupid.
And then
Yeah.
the fact that it was like, oh, it is Luigi's Mansion 3. That's crazy.
Yeah. Also, the quick detail they pointed out is that in the lobby for the hotel, you can see there's like banners up and they're like crossed out. They're like a little bit out of frame, but it has like Peach, Luigi, Toad, and Mario, and they're all like crossed out. But they brought up the good point in this Game Explained video that it's the first time Peach has ever been in Luigi's Mansion.
Oh.
It's a weird thing.
Is there any chance we'll see a ghost Mario?
I think we've seen that in Mario Galaxy 2, didn't we?
Is there any chance we'll see it again?
There is a Mario suitcase. You could see Mario's suitcase. In
Yep,
that
that's
video,
true.
too,
Next to a bunch of pizza, because
How'd you know it was Mario's suitcase?
Because it was red and had a big M on it.
Yeah,
What
he
an
stands as-
egomaniac.
Yeah, he's insane. Also, in Switch news, New Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe, former Game Informer cover story,
I'll
the
play
Wii
it
U
again.
game. That it includes like a Super Luigi U. You know, maybe not everybody's favorite Mario game, but even I wasn't the biggest fan of it, and I saw that and it's like, I'd like to play that on my
Just give
Switch.
us Super Mario 3D World.
What did you guys make of the Peachette controversy?
It's very confusing.
you-
What's the controversy again?
Can you explain it, Shay?
Basically, so when Toadette, who is a new playable character in New Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe, like in this version, you can play as Toadette, and if you get a certain power up,
It's a crown, right?
I guess she turns into Peachette, which is like looks like Peach and has like all the powers of Peach, but it's Peachette.
It's
She
a
has,
different Peach.
Toadette's braids. I
Okay.
think. Yeah.
And the controversy is, what the hell is Peachette?
And does it imply that
does-
Princess
yeah.
Peach / Princess Toadstool is just an evolved version of Toad?
I think so.
Of a Toad?
So what would happen if a Toad evolved?
Do they
Mario.
make Mario? That's the question.
Well, but we already know that Mario is just a smaller version of Mario.
We don't know that.
We don't know anything. Our world turned upside down.
Yeah, this
Oh,
really
you are
turned
right.
the lore of Mario
Holy
up on its head.
crap.
It's really like they're making it up as they're going along or something.
No, the Zelda timeline's pretty legit, though.
I don't
Oh, that
think
one's fine.
so.
That one's perfect.
Also, things that stood out to me about this direct, just to fly through, Katamari Damacy re-rolls coming on Switch. That's going to be super fun to play that original game on there. Civ 6 is on Switch.
Yeah.
November 6th. Oh my God. Reeves, Civ 6. But
Yeah,
why Civ 6
that's-
over XCOM? Isn't that crazy that they go for Civ 6 over
I don't
XCOM?
know if it's just like easier to run or something. I mean,
Or
I
even
have
something
no
like
idea,
Civilization
honestly.
Revolution, which is much more friendly
love
to.
that.
I would love, honestly, I thought about that before the direct. It was like, it'd be cool if they did Civ Rev, but then we get the whole thing. Like, I'm not going to complain.
Yeah.
Honestly, though, I probably would prefer an XCOM. I don't know.
Totally.
Because I feel like XCOM is a little bit more tailored for consoles in general as well.
And I wonder if it's just as simple, nothing's ever as simple as this, but like, I bet Civ 6 has outsold Enemy Unknown at this point. And so maybe, do you think it's that number crunchy where they
Oh,
decided to go with
maybe.
the game that sold better,
The one
even though
that's
Enemy Unknown would, in theory,
Maybe
play
more
better?
popular.
Maybe Nintendo wanted the less violent one.
I
I mean, they don't really seem to care about that anymore.
mean, we have
but-
Wolfenstein.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
If they had the choice, one or the other, maybe.
Also, Imran pointed this out, I think, that I didn't even catch it, but they announced City Skylines coming out for Nintendo Switch, which is out now. Very, very good city builder. And then right after they announced Cities, they announced Town, which is the next RPG from Game Freak.
didn't catch
What
that
did you make
either.
of that, Kyle?
That's exciting. It's interesting because it's a new turn-based RPG from Game Freak. And
All
I-
taking place within one town.
Yeah, I like that
Yeah.
idea a lot, actually.
Yeah.
I love the idea of a single location like that. But it's weird because I don't think they've done any other turn-based RPGs besides Pokemon. They've done
That's a
rhythm
great
games.
question.
They've done action platformers.
Yeah.
But, so they know how to do turn-based RPGs really well.
games, yeah.
So I'm like, I'm excited for Town. I think it's cool.
Yeah.
So how did
Uh,
this look different?
then
just Pokemon.
Well,
Does
I-
it look different?
There's no Pokemon.
there's no Pokemon.
There are
Oh,
monsters,
Is that the
though.
difference?
I mean, it looked. This sounds like I'm. What's the word I'm looking for? It sounds like I'm being negative, but I mean, it looks like a traditional RPG. Like the
I
screen
disag-
showed
I
like a
disagree,
bunch of
though.
attacks that you could choose from.
You got to
stuff
shut
like
up, Kyle, because I disagree.
No, I have a lot to say.
Because the combat, the little glimpse of the combat that they actually showed, like I didn't, as a JRPG fan, I looked at that and I said, oh, this system, I don't understand what's going on here. Like the different moves and different options, it looked like they had like, it almost looked like the Hearthstone UI of like different attack numbers and stuff for like all these different moves. So it's like, it could be more complex than you think, or just
Yeah, it
different
could
than
be.
like, it's not a Dragon Quest level simplicity,
Well, maybe
you know?
I mean, maybe it is their chance to like use that RPG knowledge that they've sort of accumulated over these years and actually do something like more complicated with it, because it's, you know, Pokemon's pretty simple
Yeah.
ultimately, and
Yeah,
that's
that'd be cool.
why it's successful. But it would be cool to see them do like a more complicated, more intricate RPG.
Well, yeah, and especially like looking at this, I think you're maybe reading some tea leaves, but it's like, oh, this seems like a good tech trial for the next Pokemon game. Not
maybe.
Let's Go.
Maybe.
Because Let's Go, we already know what that looks like, and this looks a little bit like Let's Go, but the camera looks like it's different, more detail in the world, and so if in theory they're getting their sea legs under them for the next real Pokemon RPG on Switch, like I could see it looking close to how Town looked in that trailer.
Okay, so hold on a second. Is Peachhead a princess then?
She's
Town
wearing a
Head?
crown.
Yep, I think so.
I
yeah.
think she is then.
Yeah, but
oh my
the princess
gosh.
of what kingdom?
She's gonna challenge her
So
for the
many
rule.
questions.
There's gonna be a fight.
There's
to
gonna
the
be a
death.
man.
princess fight.
That's
Yeah.
the final boss battle.
Princess Wars.
Yep. Also, every Final Fantasy game ever made, except for Final Fantasy VIII, is coming to the Switch, which is very exciting. That's not literally true, but Crystal Chronicles Remake, 15 Pocket Edition is out on Switch, which I bought. We'll see.
How do you feel about that?
Not good, because I bought it and then I realized like I still have 60 hours of Dragon Quest 11 to get through. When am I going to find time?
And this was free on my iPhone.
exactly, but yeah.
Oh wait, it is free on
Yeah, the
iPhone?
first like
Yeah,
episodes.
I'm still excited to play it on there. World of Final Fantasy, Chocobo Dungeon, everybody, it's called. Final Fantasy 12, 7, 9, 10, 10, 2, all coming in
So
2019.
Final
such a
Fantasy 8
sucker.
fans, cry quietly into your pillows.
Well, I'm trying to remember. Is 8 on Steam? Is there anything there?
don't know.
I think it's like related to which games they've ported to Steam and also ported to mobile. And I don't think 8's on mobile yet, so that's probably the easy transition there. Wait, no, but 10 isn't either.
Is 8 just a weird, like, did it sell terrible? Like, why is
can't
that
imagine.
considered this weird black sheep?
I would bet it sold more than 9.
Yeah, that was the one that came right after 7, which really blew up. So you'd think that they would
Right.
they would have done really well sales wise.
And this is the reason why 6 is scared.
Because
'Cause
17,
Final Fantasy-
18, 19.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know. And the black sheep, you would think that the black sheep, I love it, but in that generation, it seems like 9's the black sheep.
9's
like
a
it was
weird
made by
oddball,
like
yeah.
it was made in Hawaii by like a different team. You know, I bet it didn't sell as well as 7 or 8. But yeah, it's so bizarre they go for 9 over 8.
Yeah.
Someday they'll have
I
a
don't
big
know.
fanfare for 8.
I think there's
One day.
The year of Final Fantasy 8.
I think there is a hardcore group out there who really likes 8.
Yeah,
I consider myself a fan.
I listened to the soundtrack yesterday while going through Game Club emails. Best Final Fantasy soundtrack. 8.
Really?
Stand by
Whoa.
it. Absolutely.
I love the Gunblade, personally.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, there's a Smash bundle, and Isabelle from Animal Crossing is going to be in Smash Brothers, which was a fun trailer. It's fun because they had Isabelle, like the mayor's assistant, I guess is technically her role, the little dog lady. I didn't know there was that fan base out there for her, but good God, the internet loves Isabelle.
So I was talking to, I think, Cork about this afterwards, and I think Kyle, actually, you were there. I'm not an Animal Crossing guy at all.
Yeah.
But when I think of Animal Crossing, I know Mr. Rossetti and I know Tom Nook. Like, those are the characters I know. I've never
Yeah.
even heard of Isabelle. Like, why is she the one they picked to represent this franchise?
She has a lot of screen time in, New Leaf.
Okay.
She's in there a lot, and I don't know.
Did you hear Cork's what he would have liked to have seen be an Animal Crossing Smash reveal?
What's that?
Was like, you know how the Bowser kids are like, they're all the same, but it's like 8 different models.
Right.
He wanted, which I think is an awesome idea, that the next to the villager, the other Animal Crossing fighter should have been like 8 different animals.
Just choose,
Like just different, that you would just choose between the 8. I was like,
But like the fighting animations for Sven the goat versus the kangaroo,
Would've been
like
great.
it's all over the place.
Yeah.
But I love that in the Smash trailer, Smash reveal for Isabelle, like she references, she's like, "Oh, what are you doing here? I thought everyone was out or like, it's quiet in the town because everybody's out playing the Pocket Edition or playing Smash Brothers. Like,
Yeah.
I love like her breaking the fourth wall completely and referencing the iOS version. That's so fun.
I did like, it was very bold to like tease an Animal Crossing game, which people were like flipping out, like, yes, Animal Crossing Switch, Isabelle is talking, and then to like sort of pull the rug out and be like,
Yeah.
oh, just kidding, it's Smash Brothers,
Yep.
but then to come back and be like,
Yeah.
Oh
by
my
the
God,
way,
the meltdown
we
on
do really
social
hate-
media when that was
Yeah.
happening
Oh,
was
really?
hilarious.
I was
It was
watching
a
it.
good double blind.
Yeah,
I
it
mean, they
was-
did
it
that
was
for
good.
Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong in the cabin when they revealed King K. Rool.
But see it's different though, because they what happened to me was they announced an Animal Crossing
Yeah.
and then unannounced an Animal Crossing,
Right.
and then re-announced an Animal Crossing in the span of like 3 minutes,
Right. Yeah.
which
And
was crazy.
Everybody lost their mind.
So we don't know anything about Animal Crossing 2019 working
Yeah.
title.
2019.
Yeah, it was just Tom Nook saying like, "Time to go, boys," and I love them leaning into like Tom
to
Nook's.
go,
Time to
I think
go,
that was
boys.
paraphrasing what he said, but I love that they're leaning into it a little
on
bit. Like there's like
sunglasses.
a segment of that video where he has like evil eyes. Like they know the public reaction towards Tom Nook that he's
Yeah.
a son of a.
Yeah.
And like Jem just like leaning into it a little bit. It's such a good
Yeah.
Nintendo touch.
sitting
also-
in a dark room with
Exactly.
Yeah, there was some little touches. There was a Switch on his desk, which was
Oh,
nice.
I didn't see that. Okay.
And then it's funny because there's
like
also
a branch to beat people with? Is that what you mean?
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, okay.
That's exactly what he meant.
For the people who don't pay him back. But there was and then on the bottom of the screen there was like I think the disclaimer said not actual gameplay.
yeah.
Which
Yeah, I
thought
saw that
it's like,
too.
well, I
Which
guess
is
this
weird.
isn't even what the game will look like, but at least it's
But
coming.
it'll look like that. What's it going to look like? Of course, it's going to look like an HD version of Animal Crossing.
They'll be
New Leaf.
fuzzy.
Like,
Are you guys fans of like? It seems like Nintendo's really just announcing everything super early because Metroid Prime got announced and there was like nothing to it yet, and this
Yeah.
has been announced and there's not actual gameplay footage. Like it just seems like they're like, we're working on the Pokemon is another example. Just
Right.
do behind a desk.
well, they've been doing it for a while. Even like remember Smash and the Wii U? It was just like a Wada up on stage being like, "We're making it," and then the crowd had to go wild for a while before
Right.
we saw anything. I don't mind that strategy. It's a little bit like the Bethesda this year at E3,
Right.
but
Yeah,
It's okay.
which is interesting because there was this trend for a long time of like we're not going to announce anything until like 2 months before it's out, and then you'll get blitzed. But
Yeah.
now,
I do like that sort of Animal Crossing approach, like where there's actually like an animated character that at least kind of gives you an idea of what
Right.
the game might look like, as opposed to Metroid or Pokemon, which was just a logo and just a dude at a desk.
Right.
Like even just a piece of concept art would be great.
Right.
and
you know?
it saves them the lot of drama about like, what's the Switch's actual future look like when they can just slap 2019.
Yeah, that's
You can
true.
look at the release calendar and know they're like, okay, Animal Crossing, Fire Emblem, all these games are coming in 2019. It'll be a solid year.
Hey, here's what I want to know though. Is where does the dress come from when she turns into Peachette? It seems like it just materializes out of nowhere.
Actually, I have a little secret for you.
Yeah?
The answer will be revealed once Kyle and Brian Shea clap.
Also, Yoshi's Crafted World.
Hey, Jojo, but sorry, Kyle, missed your window. You're stuck here.
it.
Now you have to talk about Xenoblade 2's DLC.
Oh,
Actually, you're a good person to have, Kyle, because you started Xenoblade 2 proper.
I did. Gave it a good 10 hours.
And you also tried to clap your way out of that one.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, I'm into this, Joe. This is
Okay.
called Torna the Golden Country.
yes,
Standalone.
standalone, but
Oh, no.
I really would not recommend playing this if you have not finished Xenoblade Chronicles.
But it's
2.
like it takes place before 2?
It takes place before 2, but like the nature of the world is such that like a lot of characters who are in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 are still like are in play in the Golden Country. There's like an immortality kind of thing in the world.
Okay, because
So-
this takes place like hundreds of years before, too?
yeah, it's like
Okay.
500 years before 2, but a lot of the events in 2 are sort of like spring from things that happened during this stuff.
I get it.
all it means is that basically like the Golden Country, even though you could play it and understand the sort of like basic beats of the story,
Yeah.
to like appreciate the events, to appreciate what's going on with the characters, to like really actually just like know what's going on beyond the basic this is what I'm seeing happening stuff. The game relies on you having some familiarity with
That's a bummer.
the lore, and like it would be kind of spoilery in some ways too if you play this first.
Oh, that's confusing because what's appealing about it is I didn't get into Octopath because I'm a personality over systems guy, and that game is
Gotcha.
very much a systems over personality guy.
It is.
Because the game's a guy. But but with this, it's appealing because like I want to play Xenoblade 2. It's so huge, and you were like a little bit meh on it, and so here's like a shorter, cheaper standalone thing. It's like that sounds perfect, but don't go unless you played Xenoblade 2.
Or
I mean, or you could play it if you don't plan on going through Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
Right. I think that might be me, Joe.
Then you could do it, but you just have to understand that a lot of things that there are going to be several things that happen that you're going to be like, who's this guy? Am I supposed to know this guy?
Right,
And the
right.
answer is yes. You're supposed to know that guy,
Don't be
but
an
you
idiot.
won't.
If I
Okay.
don't plan on playing Xenoblade Chronicles 2, am I required to play this?
Yeah, actually, it's a weird law they
man.
passed.
All right.
Yeah.
And also, Joe, who is Peachette? We've been meaning to ask you.
what?
There we go. Yes, and.
That is
He
the
got
correct answer.
That's the right answer.
I'm sorry.
No. What do you mean? Are you saying you don't know what came before in this podcast? Much like the Golden Country?
Yeah, you're treating me like I'm part of some in-joke here, all right? Like,
No, Joe, you are the joke.
We're laughing at
see,
you.
now that I'm familiar
Yeah,
with.
yeah.
That I know.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Golden Country, you had the interesting trend with Xenoblade Chronicles 2 where, what score did you give that base game?
I gave it like a 7.5 when it came out.
And you spent more time with it after. Like, you kept going back to it again and again and again.
I did. Like, it took me about 100 hours to finish the game. And I think my timer on it now is like a little over 200. So I spent like another 100 hours with that game going through and like collecting rare stuff because
Yeah.
they kept improving the game.
Oh, I thought it was all for Cosmos.
Well, that was part of it too.
Okay, did you
Yeah.
eventually unlock Cosmos?
I did.
Is it
Yep.
fun?
What?
Is she's like a blade? Or
Yeah,
whatever?
yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't worth it.
Wait,
but-
what? It's not an actual character. It's a blade called
Well,
Cosmos?
look.
I don't want to know.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's the right.
Yeah. But the point being is that if you bought the expansion pass for Xenoblade Chronicles 2, you get all of these updates, and they even put a bunch of free ones out there, so you don't even need the expansion pass. But
Yeah.
just things that like make the battles less tedious, which was a big important thing. Make some of the like progression and grinding like take less time. So,
Okay.
you know, I would say if you're going back to that game now, it's probably better than the 7.5 I gave it.
Oh,
like,
interesting.
when it first came out. So it's like if you have the time to invest in a 100-hour RPG, like I would recommend Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
Dragon Quest XI's right there, though. But
There's
I
really
understand.
not
It's
enough
for Switch yet.
100-hour RPGs these
Yeah.
days.
Yeah, RPGs, just cool it, you guys.
But ultimately, to go back to the Golden Country,
Please.
is just like it's got a lot of more of the same kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Except they do this thing where it's like it could have been this like okay, like you said, a focused short RPG story that instead they put in a lot of this like weird filler. They gate off the main story progression and make you do side quests that I didn't really find very interesting.
Okay.
Like for hours before you can just do the next like main story mission at a couple points. So that sort of killed a lot of it for me.
And so you ended up giving it a 7.
Yeah.
Great. Hey, we're talking about focused RPGs on the Switch. Undertale's on there now,
Oh, that's cool.
which is exactly what we were just
Not
describing.
100 hours.
Certainly not.
Yeah.
That's actually kind of interesting because there are some parts of that game that are kind of meta in a way that like I suppose it would be the same on like PS4.
They're like
also,
PC focused and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. So,
Vita.
like I don't know how they address that.
I played it on Vita. That was like how I played Undertale.
Yeah.
And,
What about what they do for like the typing section and stuff? 'Cause there's a boss fight where you have to like bang on the keyboard.
I don't
believe.
remember. I don't think. Maybe it might have just been fully removed. I know there was a part where the game's supposed to crash at the end.
Yeah, yeah,
It would
yeah.
just like cut to black and then come back, which
Ah,
is less exciting.
That works.
But
Yeah.
Slight spoiler for
Functional.
Undertale. That's fine.
oh, sorry.
We talked a little bit about it, Joe, just plugging your review last week or the week before or something, but Valkyria Chronicles 4.
Oh yeah,
You gave what score, sir?
that's a 9.
That is a 9, and that is scientific. It is a 9.
Yeah, I mean it's not even an opinion. It's just
Overall, everything you
I
wanted.
conducted the proper tests.
Yeah, Valkyria Chronicles, the strategic RPG, everything you wanted.
Yeah, and I think what makes that one so interesting for me anyway was that like I think a lot of people eventually came around to and played the first one on
Yeah.
PS3, and then when it came out on PC, and then when it came out remastered on PS4. Like I
Yeah.
think at this point, that first game is sort of getting the recognition it deserves. But there was that second game on PSP that is very different.
Yeah.
So people either haven't played it or did play it and don't like the deviation from it, or appreciate it for what it is, but what it is just different.
Yeah.
And then there's the third one that didn't even come out in North America,
Okay, not worth mentioning here.
also on PSP.
Okay.
So 4 really kind of like it cherry picks some neat things from 2 and 3, but it's fair to think of it as more of just like a continuation of the mechanics from Valkyria Chronicles 1.
What about plot-wise? Can we jump right into 4?
Absolutely. Jump right in.
Really? Is
Yep.
it a prequel or anything like that?
No, I mean, it technically is happening, I think, concurrently with Valkyria Chronicles 1.
Okay.
So it's on a different front. It's this big war that spans fake Europe, and it's like, you're on one side, and the stuff that's happening in Valkyria 1 is sort of at a different part.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So there are DLC missions that I don't think they're going to be available at launch, but that I know they like combine, like they let you take the squad from Valkyria 1 into your squad.
Oh, that's fun.
So, for people who are familiar with it, like Ben, I know you played it, right?
Yeah, I was a big fan of the original, and then I skipped 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Because I heard they were weird. But this is like, I'm
I heard
actually
different,
excited.
actually.
Yeah, I don't like different things. But this I was really excited for because I did like the original. I started playing the demo, and like immediately I was like, oh yeah, I forgot how much I like this. Because it's such a it's a cool strategy game, but it's like different than every other strategy game I played, which is fun.
It's a little like Codename Steam, where it's not like an XCOM. Like you have direct movement.
Yes.
It's just like limited for
Yeah.
how much.
Yeah.
So
And
do
I
you
like
like
it.
different or not?
Yes.
This guy's falling apart. And what is it on?
Switch, Xbox One, PS4, PC.
It's still got that cool like cloudy vignette postcard look around the edge. It's such
Yeah.
a cool, unique vibe for this game.
It's got a weird, like kind of a sketchbook / watercolor aesthetic to it, and so it's just got all the like great tactical stuff. And even though it seems familiar, if you've played the first one, it also like adds things that on a feature list look small, like there's a new unit, and you can things like that. But that new unit does a lot to like change how you approach strategy in the game. And stuff.
And it's probably been a while since people played the first one anyway. So
Yeah. So ultimately, like, I just had a great time with it. It like looks great. It plays great. It's just a real, pretty
Awesome.
a pretty tight package.
I was amazed that Valkyria Revolution was the game you didn't like as much.
Oh yeah,
That was just last year. That was June
Really?
of 2017.
yeah.
How do they crank these things out? I guess this game was directed by like a designer on the original game, so it's like a slightly different team overall. But that's just crazy that was so soon.
Yeah,
I mean, it's the same team?
No, it's just they're different teams.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but yeah, what's so weird about it is like I don't know why they thought Valkyria Revolution would work.
Yeah, some
You know?
revolutions don't go through.
Yeah, it's just that's true. They don't all end in success.
That's right. Some end with the guillotine and people revolting in the streets.
I mean, everybody says they want a revolution, but they didn't want this one.
That's what they say.
They didn't want to change the world. Okay, Valkyria Chronicles 4 review on the site. Joe Juba, God bless you. Do you have anything else you want to get off your chest before you leave this podcast now and forever?
No, I'm out of here forever.
All right, cool. Here come emails. And welcome back to the Game Informer Show. I'm still here. We have some wonderful emails, and also I'm not answering them by myself, Dan Tack.
You're not.
As much as
Well,
you
who
would
else is
love
here?
for that to happen. Well, for one, Dan Tack is here.
Hey, everybody.
Hate to spoil it. Leo Vader is here.
An honor and a pleasure.
Boy out of the booth. And
you.
then we have returning champion. Here she is, Elise Favas.
What am I the champion of?
Just the podcast in
Emails.
general. We had at least 2 emails, Elise, that said, "Where the hell is Elise? Get her back on the show. It's been a long time." So it's
Thank
lovely to have you
the
back in the
2
office.
people.
And Overblood sent you a lovely
No.
thing, didn't they?
Yeah, oh my gosh. I got this huge gift bag from them and a bunch of emails and messages from lots of people. you
What
know.
was the nicest thing?
They were all nice.
Okay.
They were. Yeah, everyone was really sweet. And some people like related to some of the stuff. So
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, it's lovely to have you back.
it was great.
There we go. Okay. Wonderful emails. People send to podcast@gameformer.com. Anything that makes the show better, Dan. They send it into podcast.
Sometimes they send stuff that doesn't even make the show better, but it's still cool.
That's
so
right.
send it all there.
And we're going to get to that later on, perhaps. Oh, that's a spoiler.
oh
Don't
God,
want
I
you to
see.
say
I saw it already. and
Damn
I-
it!
it's okay. I've seen that before.
Feedback, questions, comments, words of wisdom, anything that makes the show better, podcastinginformer.com. We're going to read off some of our favorites, then choose the absolute best email of the week, put them up on the board on the big map, Dan Tag.
That's right.
And by that, I mean,
we're
we're gonna,
Finland up there, right?
we should really just have you wear a t-shirt that has like a map of the world and put a little pin right in your chest, Dan.
Yeah, shoot him with a
That's a
dart.
That's a really
It's
weird
real
thing
dark,
to say.
dude.
Yeah. Okay.
We love him. Okay, first email is from Josh Pierre Vincenti. He says the Destiny 2 free version on PlayStation Plus definitely didn't include any additional DLC, just so you guys know.
Right.
I downloaded it. My character was at 20 cap and wasn't able to get any more experience until I got Curse of Osiris. So you definitely can't play Forsaken until you own those first 2 DLC packs. Thank you. Very important.
But the quality of life changes that came with Forsaken, like weapon slots and stuff. I believe that's he's still going to have a different experience playing the campaign now than he would have before Forsaken.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Also, we should mention that Miller posted his review for Forsaken 9.25.
925. That's Destiny is back, baby.
Embracing the hobby.
That's the headline. Embracing the
Goes in
hobby.
cycles, right? You know, starts off, gets fixed, starts off, gets fixed. We're gonna see that in Destiny 3.
That's right.
It's a good time to play it right now,
Yes.
specifically.
Yeah.
I think they wrote about that in Ecclesiastes, the Great Cycle.
Wow.
Hello, GI crew. Mark Lark from Surprise, Arizona writes in, and he says, hey, Surprise, which I think is God's country. I do believe Surprise, Arizona is. Anyways, you guys talked about Fallout 76 not having the traditional VAT system in the game, which made me question, what games have implemented a single-player mechanic into multiplayer? Just an interesting question. So he says, I think the best example was Max Payne 3's bullet time in multiplayer matches. Can you guys think of any other good examples? We should focus on Max Payne 3 for a second.
That was so interesting.
There was multiplayer in that game?
Oh boy,
It was great.
Leo should
I never
know.
played it.
Leo owns 2 copies of Max Payne 3.
That's right. I recently lent one out, so just down to 1 right now.
Oh my God. Are
But
you
yeah,
okay?
yeah, I'm fine. The bullet time is like area, right? Like,
Yeah.
not the whole map, but
Okay.
anybody who's pretty much within like eye line of you, or at least pretty close, also gets slowed down when you activate bullet time.
So it's that weird distortion that I had to do for my brain where it's like the actual world isn't being slowed down. The world's running in real time. It's just the characters are. So even if you're being fired at or whatever, you can still dodge in slow motion as well, which is so cool. It's like these pockets of changing time.
it was cool.
Yeah, that is neat.
Yeah.
The other example that comes to mind is The Last of Us multiplayer had the kind of crafting of choosing Molotovs or med kits, you know, picking up supplies and crafting during the matches.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah,
the
yeah,
listen
yeah.
mode, like it carried a lot of things from single player and had a really good multiplayer mode.
Yeah, underrated.
Underrated.
That's good. I want more of the time stuff. If anybody can think of other good like slow down time mechanics in multiplayer, that's
Well, there is that game coming out, Breach, which will have the Chronomancer, who can do that exact same thing.
Can you explain how that works?
Puts down a bubble, and it slows down everything inside it. So any enemy inside that bubble will
Yeah.
be slowed. So will your allies. And to get this, you can use it as sort of a buffer too, because the buffs also slow down their decay. So your team can,
Interesting.
if your team wants to extend the duration of their buffs, they're going to move
Yeah.
slower and everything, and act slower. People that are stuck in it, but the buffs will stay on longer. It's a very interesting time
That's really
capsule. Yeah.
fun. That's a good one, Dan. Good pull, man.
Cool.
Kevin from Mishawaka, Indiana. Welcome. I was listening to the podcast the other week.
Thank
as I
you.
do every week for a few years now. Well, thank you. And they heard Kim mentioning her trip to Tokyo Game Show. As an avid fan of the Earth Defense Force series, I was wondering if there are any fellow followers of EDF at Game Informer, and will you be covering EDF 5? He mentions he has a YouTube channel. Kevin EDF is the channel's name. That's dedicated solely.
Yeah, it is.
He has over 300 videos focused on
wow.
the EDF
Wow.
series.
That's prolific.
Well, I'd be happy to know there is an office contingent that is very into that game. I
Yeah.
can't say I'm among them, but
Yeah.
we have a hardy crew that loves that stuff.
We also have a copy of EDF 5 in, and I think we have a video for it.
If not now, then very soon on our
Okay.
YouTube channel.
New gameplay today.
New gameplay today.
EDF 5? Is that what it is?
Yep, we play co-op. Joe and Jeff.
How is it? How's it looking?
It's cool. It looks like EDF.
Yeah.
Weirdly worse graphics. Maybe I just remember them being better than they are.
His ants look like butt.
Yeah, 2017 was the one I got most into. I played all the way through that co-op and just loved it. It's had a nice dramatic ending where like I was still playing, but my friend had died in co-op, and there's like dramatic narration of like you're hearing on the radio. They're like, wait, there's one soldier still fighting all the ants by himself.
Really?
Yeah, it's really fun.
Did that game come out in 2017?
No, we passed 2017 and no Earth Defense Force was required.
Wow. Congratulations, humanity.
Safe year.
Yeah.
Finally, 1 year.
Gotta get one.
All right, here we go. This person's getting right to it, Dan. This
Okay.
person knows this show. And I don't care
Oh.
if you don't like this question because it's coming.
I'm not gonna like it. I
You
can tell
will.
already.
It's
if,
fine.
if you're saying that.
Look, it's
Jeez.
not about you, so you'll love it. Andy from Chicago saying, hey, something has just crossed my mind, and it's of absolute vital importance. What is the best Disney movie song? Under the Sea, Hakuna Matata, Let It Go, etc. We're familiar. There are so many to choose from. Anyways, I always thought the crew would have some fun debating this hot button issue, but I'm also curious and scared and mortified by what JV will pick. Yeah, JV would pick
Oh,
like
God.
Black Hole
Some like
soundtrack or
obscure
So this is a great question.
yeah.
Under the Sea.
Under Sea, number one.
Absolutely.
So
It is fun.
it's between 3 for me, and that's tough.
Okay, hang on. I want to dissect Under the Sea a little
Okay.
bit. Kiss the Girl might be my favorite from Little Mermaid.
Oh, that is cute.
It is a very, in terms of like the romantic songs, normally they're a real bummer, but that manages to be a romantic song and it's like fun and upbeat. Right, Dan?
I mean, not even the best song in Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
Neither of them.
Savage.
What? Then which one?
Really?
Poor Unfortunate Souls, clearly.
It is very fun. Ursula's
That,
so cool.
that whole
Yes.
soundtrack is pretty damn good.
Yeah, wait a minute. Oh, there's a video. People should look it up. I forget the actress's name that plays Ariel, but there's this awesome footage. It's just like uncut, like 15 minutes of her recording in the booth and like getting directed on how to sing certain songs, but like hearing her go through iterations and trying to improve. I forget what song it is specifically, but it's so much fun to see like that raw booth recording stuff from Disney. All right, Dan, what's your choice
That
here?
was fun.
It's very difficult, but I'm going to go with Be Prepared.
You just like the villain songs.
I do like, I just know my other 2 picks are also villain songs.
Are you
Very
actually
telling.
a villain, Tack?
I guess so. I guess I just like the villain
Very
characters.
motivational for him.
I think
He
it-
starts his morning off with these songs.
I am going to make an army of Nazi dogs. That sounds pretty neat.
I like Disney villains because they're, and a lot of times you can't empathize them with them, and they're just really evil.
Yeah.
And in the current day, modern day, we have villains who you're trying to understand their plight, but they're really just awful, awful people in Disney villains, and
Sure.
I like that as bad guys.
You just want them to be over the top.
Yeah, I love it.
Long live the king style.
Yeah, and I think Hellfire is probably really great too as the second runner-up.
Which Hellfire?
That's the one from Hunchback of Notre Dame.
I've never seen that
Are you
film.
Well, the film you can probably not see,
But watch that sequence.
but that song is incredible.
Yeah, okay. It's tough because One Jump is like my karaoke go-to. That's super fun.
That's a fun
But
one.
I don't know, even from Aladdin, I think Friend Like Me, or even Prince Ali, like there's so many great songs in that
Prince
I
alone.
Ali.
think
like-
Aladdin doesn't have like a one banger that I'd pick as my favorite.
Yeah.
But it's got a really like everything is good from that movie, right? Like it's really great the whole way through.
Whole New World, I remember fast forwarding through as a kid because like, all right, here
Kinda
we go.
boring.
Yeah. Even though like when they swirl around the cloud and it looks like an ice cream cone is amazing. Secret runner-up, recent, I think Moana's How Far I'll Go is amazing.
Okay.
I might even like that more than Let It Go, even though it's controversial. Here's another controversial choice. I think my number one choice, really, it's maybe a little bit uneven. It's fun. It's all over the place. It's long, but the opening song from Beauty and the Beast, just Belle, I think that might be my favorite.
I don't remember that
The
one.
oh god, I won't
Go
sing it,
for
but it's
it.
just the
Sing
da
it.
da 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 da
Oh, okay.
da 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 da.
It's been a while for that movie.
Okay.
Man, it sucks because I think my favorite might be from a Disney movie that most people haven't even seen. That's Princess and the Frog.
No,
The villain in that
Yeah.
movie is so good.
That is a good
so
song.
insanely good, and I can listen to that all day.
Yeah, and Leo doesn't like Disney, ladies and gentlemen.
The Incredibles score is the one I keep.
Okay,
Get outta
if you
here.
wanna-
Yeah, what the heck? man?
So Leo,
Cool
God.
choice, dude.
The song where he comes back from No Man Is an Island the first time.
Yeah, look, no one's
I
going to
can't
argue the
remember.
Incredibles soundtrack is one of the greatest soundtracks of all time.
That
Leo.
sounded like arguments.
No, it's just not a Disney film. We're talking classic Disney.
Sure.
Not some
Disney,
Pixar
Disney.
technically.
Yeah, I like the song from Steamboat Willie the most.
One more time, play that song.
Gosh.
When he plays the goat's intestines, that was the coolest part.
Hell yeah.
Riley from Issaquah, Washington says, "Hello, GI Show. Hello. My question this week is for those of you who have creative hobbies outside of gaming. How do you manage your free time between creative hobbies and gaming? I'm a musician and I find it hard to split my free time between music and gaming. My current schedule is to focus on a game until I beat it, then focus on a song until it's finished, and then repeat. However, I find myself wanting to play games when I should be focusing on my song and vice versa. Do you have any suggestions?"
It's tough.
Dan, when do you find the time to do those self-portrait paintings of yours?
I've been only getting into those recently.
Okay, just of your toes in the bathtub or whatever.
that's-
I guess really it all
Toes
comes
in the
down to
bathtub.
time management. You know,
Yeah.
like maybe get home, play a game for a couple hours, and say you like reading or something or writing. Then spend do that right before bed or something. You know?
And I find it
Yeah.
way easier to do that, like, I'm going to do this 20 minutes a day rather than I'm going to take my whole Saturday and try to focus on this
No.
one creative project. That never works out.
But
really.
I think what works is like saying I'm gonna set aside an hour like every day and do this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just gotta prioritize.
For me personally, I've found it's helpful to, like, when I'm done with all my stuff at work and I could go home, I just stay an extra 20 minutes and work on something personal just because I, like, focus a lot better here than I do at home.
Really?
I do too, actually. Yeah.
Why is everyone always leaving the office then? Why does everybody else have the opposite? that they can't focus in the office. They need to be home.
They love
It
games too
depends on-
much.
It
depends on the
depends what
activity.
you're doing. Like if it's transcribing, then I'm gonna do much better just like in my room.
Yeah,
But if I'm writing, I prefer being in the office because my cats are just very distracting.
Yeah. Can you sell them
No,
To me?
I will.
to the podcast?
They're not
That'd be
gonna
nice.
be sold. No.
Okay. I think also this is a dumb one, but just go ahead and start setting your alarm clock on the weekends. I bet people waste hours that they could be using on their personal artistic projects on the weekends. I think there's time flying out the window for weekends because it's fun not to set an alarm. Just go ahead, set it for 8 hours. You'll be amazed how much time you have.
I like to do 1 day a week, sleep in as much as possible, feels great, refreshing, but 1 day on the weekend, I definitely set an alarm.
Yeah. I always liked in the rapid fire with Miyamoto, I think we asked him like how long he's ever slept. And he said something crazy like 16 hours straight or something. Hell of a man.
Wow.
He finds time for his creative projects.
He sure does. And
Gardening or
what
whatever.
projects? Yeah.
And how? Forrest from Springfield, Missouri says, this just in. Oh, a new amusement park theme park is coming to a city near you. Filled with fun rides, games, deliciously overpriced food, even some costume characters. And the best part? The theme of this amusement park is a video game franchise of your choice. Imagine, for example, a Halo-themed amusement park. Meet Master Chief and Arbiter, your best buds. Ride the Banshee. Play a game of Whack-A-Grunt to win a stuffed Guilty Spark. A lot of fun. Come on down.
I'm pretty sold.
Which video game franchise would you choose to have the theme park modeled after?
So this one's just unbelievably easy for me, just
What?
because they just did this in the game. They
Right.
made Blizzard World in Overwatch.
Oh, of
Right.
course.
That's like the slam dunk.
just
I mean,
one for one, make it that exact layout.
That'd be
Beautiful.
cool.
I just thought of the best thing.
Yeah.
Grim Fandango.
Oh,
How cool would that be?
completely financially irresponsible to make it based on this one obscure
Oh
adventure
my
game.
god! Like
You're totally right, and just have that soundtrack piping through because it is the best gaming world that's ever been made.
It would be like the marina area and like the nice bar from the second act, but also like where you stay, like the hotel on the premises would be from the
Yes,
first act, like that
yes.
office
that,
building.
all that would be so cool.
That'd be
Right,
great.
just mix and
Oh my
match
God.
it. Also, I've always wanted, and this is so specific, but I've always wanted to walk around facility from GoldenEye. I don't think GoldenEye would make the greatest amusement park, but if you could just, the amusement park was just like a building I could walk through, I want to walk through facility. I think that'd be so much fun, Dan.
building
Yeah.
from GoldenEye.
Just
theme
let
park.
me just walk through it. That is,
All right.
if I die and that's heaven, I'll be in heaven.
Technically.
I got to tell you, I never saw that pick coming.
Yeah.
So you
No,
got
but
me.
I think I'd have to go. It's like artistic, and so it doesn't seem like a great choice at first. But if you want thrill rides, you know, things to really knock your socks off,
Sure.
you could just make Team Eco themed, right?
Yeah.
Because you could like ride around on a Trico. You could have like some crazy, you know, like it'd be like Tower of Terror, except it'd be like the bird Colossus just like falling.
Yeah, they could get a Trico to be there. That'd be cool.
How much do they cost? Yeah. Also, everybody go to amusement parks more. I feel like I go to one every
right.
other year, and it's like, why don't I do this like every other month?
Yeah.
It's so much fun.
They are really fun.
And Dan, are you a screamer at amusement parks?
You know I'm not.
Wait, actually, yeah, we went to the Universal Studios together. Yeah,
I did. It was fun.
I feel like at rides you have to give it up. Yeah, except Dan was just sitting there praying that he wouldn't be squirted by more water.
The Universal thing, I don't think the Universal thing is like, those aren't thrill rides. They're
No.
fun. They really get the
The
feel of
Mummy
movies.
ride went a lot faster than I
Yeah,
thought.
Actually, yeah, the Mummy ride is way faster than I remember. That's a real roller coaster. It's just really short. Really, really short.
But it's as fast as it needs to be, and it's very fun because it's all based on like Brendan Fraser's The Mummy, and it's just like casual ride.
Based on anything, it's got 1 second that's based on the film, and then you're just in the dark flying around.
There's bugs and stuff, but just like there's this awesome part where Imhotep, the mummy from The Mummy, of
course.
I think he's like in front of you, as I
He is,
recall,
he is.
and then he just goes like, "I own your soul," and then it starts like
And then
launching
the ride-
at like
the
100
ride-
miles an hour.
Yeah, the ride starts out slow, and it's like, oh, I'm in the Mummy ride. Cool. There's like scarab beetles and
Dan was saying all this out loud.
architecture, and then all of a sudden he's just like, you guys are effed, and then it's only like a minute though,
Oh my
but it is
gosh.
really intense.
Right.
Do you just like add a critique, like a heavy critique to every ride you go on?
Dan complained a lot about those rides.
I so did not.
He did not even like the Simpsons ride, which
I did not like the Simpsons ride.
it was one of the
but I liked a
weakest.
lot of the other rides. Come on, what
All
the
right.
hell? This is.
All right, you're a
Does he
ride
put his
snob.
hands up as he goes down on roller coasters?
We didn't have a real roller coaster.
Yeah, Universal doesn't really have great
Okay.
roller coasters, but
Just trying to imagine it.
that's the best time I've ever had with you, Dan.
I liked getting squirted on in the Jurassic Park ride. Okay.
Yeah, my apologies. Tim from Seattle says,
What?
I don't know. Tim from Seattle writes in and says, listening to the pod last week. I'm sorry. I'll probably got that.
Yeah, you should.
Listening to the pod last week, it seemed like most of you were confused by the lack of hype. Sorry. I'm sorry. It made myself laugh. Was surprised or confused by the lack of hype surrounding the new Blackout mode, and to me, outside of Call of Duty fatigue, it is the terrible pricing model Activision is using for Black Ops 4 that leads to the lack of excitement. It is currently going to be the only shooter launching this fall that is still going to charge for new maps that you have to pay $40 additional for, which at this point seems like an archaic and out-of-touch business practice. COD is entering a market where their biggest competitor is Fortnite, and it's free. PUBG is second. It's only $30. And is providing all updates for free, and their third, Battlefield 5, is also providing all future map updates for free. If Call of Duty Blackout wants to be a massive game right now, they better explain how long they plan to support it and what we will need to actually pay for.
Hopefully we can get those answers.
On a special edition podcast, which hopefully will be coming up soon in this
I agree.
podcast feed.
As for the hype, though, I think as far as in my battle royale circles and forums and my community, they're pretty hype on it. Super
Yeah,
hype on it.
I think
and
so.
so am I, to be honest. Like,
Yeah, you've been playing
it's
a lot.
incredible. Yeah, I couldn't put that thing down.
Really?
It's
And
just-
the PC feels great?
The flow, PC feels great, and we
Yeah.
still had capped FPS for this beta. I can't when they unchain that thing, man, it's gonna be
Yeah.
wild.
No, I totally with you. I think we were surprised that more people, weren't into like our cover story content out
Yeah.
of the gate, but it seems like the beta, at least like that pocket of passion is there. Like that subreddit is
I knew
just
once
so
people got
into
their
it.
hands on it, I mean, you can say how good something is, but people need to get in there and feel it, and
Right.
and they did, and it's great.
And it feels so polished.
It really
Did
does.
you play it too, Leo?
Yeah, I played the beta.
Oh,
this
what'd you
weekend.
think?
It was fun. It's definitely like top of the list for battle royale games for me because it moves super fast, but yet the time to kill isn't too crazy.
I
that you're
think
getting
that's
sniped
really
all the
what's
time.
going to sell it is that it's like a refined,
Yeah.
PUBG or whatever.
It feels
Totally.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although they said that there's some Korean ratings leak that PUBG might be coming to PS4, which is interesting. But I think it's just going to be a whole new generation of slightly disappointed console players.
Yeah.
PUBG and PC is still great. I
It
still
is.
love it
Hey,
with a fiery passion.
We
but-
have to make sure we say that every single
Yeah.
time because there is a huge disconnect between the quality of the game on console compared to PC.
Yes,
Yeah,
for
the
sure.
pricing of the maps is a huge shame, though. It feels like that was like an experiment that the industry had of buying maps and season passes and stuff, and like, oh, it doesn't work because it fractures the player base. We need to not do this. And now,
And
yeah, it feels
yet
like we
they're
moved
doing
past
it.
that, but no, yeah, we're back.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
Rush from San Francisco. Huh. Do you think they make a lot of San Francisco
It's a
Rush?
great band.
Well, no, it's like San Francisco Rush is the game, right? Anyways, they say my first Final Fantasy game was Final Fantasy 15. Hang on, Dan's gonna finish
No.
wincing into the
I
microphone.
didn't wince. I was grinning.
There we go. Grinning so hard it hurt. I absolutely loved it, despite what longtime fans of the series say. It was perfect for someone like me to hop into and be invested in the story, the characters, the gameplay, the world. Everything worked for me. I want to explore more of Final Fantasy, but I'm afraid of what game to pick up next. Any recommendations?
It really depends on, what his
15.
what the expectations are
Yeah.
for this one, because obviously I think the old school ones are the best, but trying to get someone into those today can be a little more challenging.
Yes.
But I can't recommend any of the modern ones to him.
I
So
mean, if
you
he
guys have
loves
one-
15, like just visually, is there a universe where like 13 is not?
I can't in good conscience recommend 13 to
I'm
anybody for any
in the
reason.
same boat.
Right.
What would you say, Elise?
I don't know. I mean, I'm just leaning towards Final Fantasy VI. I mean, that's
Yeah.
my favorite one, and I feel like it just does things a little differently than the others in the series.
Yeah. What about though, like playability? Like what they're gonna get that like
that's-
not great version on iOS or
I
Steam
know.
compared to like 7,
That's-
which
that's the thing that's tough.
I'm very nostalgic over 7, but the fact that it's being re-released like on Switch coming up soon in the PlayStation Classic, like there are some good modern ways to play that, and I still think it'll hold up fine if you're coming in fresh.
I feel like that's one of the older ones that does probably hold up best.
Yeah.
In terms of playability.
But maybe if you're worried about things being archaic, like I think 10,
I guess it's hard to say. Like, what did he like best about Final Fantasy 15? Right?
Yeah.
Because
The characters, the gameplay, the world, is what he says.
Okay.
Well, just play 6 or 4. That's my answer.
No, man.
I can't give them.
I think 10 might be the best middle ground for everybody here. Classic enough, modern enough,
maybe,
play like
actually.
the HD version of 10.
Fine.
It's a fine time.
Fine.
Or just get hyped for the 7 remake.
Well,
Get hyped for years!
How long is he gonna wait for that?
Yeah, you can only be hyped for so long before your body starts to fall apart. I'm sorry, Doctor. We lost him. Eric Nelson writes in and says, "Hey, y'all. Eric from Eden Prairie here. love the show, and love you, including Brian Shea.
Oh, hey,
Even-
local.
Even though he's a robot hair model. Did you guys know that about Brian?
what?
I did.
Oh, really?
It's a secret.
It's a
but not anymore.
yeah, it's a bullpen thing. We don't sit next to Brian like you do. Anyway, I was curious what you all think of Switch cloud streaming. Do any of you think it's a viable means of enjoying PS4 quality games on the Switch, like Resident Evil 7? What's the likelihood of this growing to include more games on the Switch that can't run? Will it come to America and other territories? P.S. I miss Tim Turry. P.P.S. Don't give Dan an inch on his ketchup argument. It belongs on French fries. What is this, Dan?
I maintain that you shouldn't put ketchup on almost anything, including French fries.
Oh, you're insane.
I know.
From Europe or what here?
Yeah.
Not.
Yeah, have you ever heard of Snobsylvania?
wait. There's something snobby about it. I prefer other
Nothing
condiments.
remotely
Snobby.
snobby.
Yeah.
Got
But yeah, what do you guys think about this? So just laying it out. So this is a Japan-only thing where you can technically stream games to your Switch, which people say has a slight delay, but maybe not as bad as you'd imagine. So you can play Resident Evil 7, Monster Hunter World, and upcoming Assassin's Creed Odyssey. You can stream to your
a lot of
Switch in Japan.
A lot of those games require you not to have any delay. Like Monster Hunter, having a delay would
That's
be
my main concern.
pretty rough.
Yeah.
And I feel like so many cloud services have flopped. You know, I mean, who uses PlayStation now still?
I assume somebody, but I have no idea.
I have one friend who played Red Dead Redemption on it, and he said it was good.
Really?
But he's my least trustworthy friend.
Does he have like high speed, really good internet?
Yeah, he does have good internet.
So like,
Which is a
not
factor.
everybody has that.
Yeah, totally. I'm all for it for like people who only have a Switch and want to play games they couldn't play otherwise. But for me, I would never
I think
ever
it would
want to
be
stream a game.
cool to have an option there, but it would suck if they're like, or some games like, oh, you can only play this through the cloud service and
Right.
not available
And es-
otherwise.
and especially
on
'cause
the
it-
Switch, I mean.
Yeah, and it's fun to have the Switch. Jeff Cork's favorite phrase, on the go. And the idea that like having to rely on stable internet when you can't even connect your
How
Switch
on
to like
earth-
hotel Wi-Fi to begin
How would
with.
that even
like,
work, right?
Yeah,
Like you
so-
can't be on the bus playing RE7 if, you know.
Yeah, but I do hope it comes to the States. I hope this is just like a weird trial thing in Japan because it seems, I'd imagine it's going over well over there.
I feel like cloud-based services and stuff like that are just not where they need to be yet. I feel like it is going to be a major thing in the future, but I don't think we're there quite yet.
Next generation. Here we go.
Yeah, could
Yeah,
be.
maybe.
Could
Buckle
be.
up, kids. Adam Stubbings says, what's a game you've played and it's taken you hours upon hours of playtime to really appreciate? For me, it was Mass Effect Andromeda. It took me nearly 10 months to complete due to turning it on, playing for half an hour and getting mad at any of the following things. Stupid driving sections. Ding. Dodgy animations. Ding. The fact you can revive squad mates, but they can't revive you. The same boss battle repeated 11 times. Story choices that don't matter. A baffling gun upgrade system. The ridiculous loading screen whenever you move between plans or systems. Loot crates that I still know the purpose of. Topless Liam. But after 64 hours,
You
I
like this
reached,
game.
I reached 96% completion. I also watched a 3-part game club maybe 4 times through to completion. The blatant dislike for the game from JV really kept me going. Gradually, I started becoming addicted, smashing through side missions, loving the loyalty missions, and embracing the bonker story to the point where the last maybe 15 hours were covered in a couple of weeks. Ended up loving the game and wondering, is there a game out there that you guys have played that initially you weren't enjoying, but eventually warmed up to?
A litany of hatred spewed forth about the game, and then he loves it. All right, well,
How do you feel about Andromeda in retrospect, Elise?
Me, I enjoyed parts of it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good character
but-
moments shine through.
Yeah, exactly. The characters were great. I loved all of them. I mean, they took a while to grow on me, but then
Yeah.
I really loved them, and that's kind of it for me. I think.
Except if you count the Archon, the main villain, as a character, which is still one of the dumbest main
no,
villains I've ever seen in the game.
that part of the storyline was pretty bad.
It was unbelievably bad.
The
Like-
voice acting for him too was just hilarious.
It was Satan from South Park. Like
Yeah.
it was just the entire performance.
But
It's so over the top.
there are things about Andromeda that I
Yeah.
enjoyed.
But to his main question here, can you guys think of any games
Yeah,
that?
sure.
Well, actually, speaking of Mass Effect, the first time that I tried to play the original Mass Effect, could not get into it.
Did you play it late?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
I was 18, so I don't know. That was like, gosh, I'm not doing math well, like 8 years ago.
Right.
Which was a bit late, yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why. I don't know. And then I like my friend was showing it to me and like he was like, "Oh my god, this is the best game ever. Like you're going to love it." And I was like, "I'm just not digging it." I don't know. I think my main problem with the first Mass Effect was like it just has a slow start to like really get into it. And then once
Yeah.
you get to the Citadel, like that's why I hadn't gotten to the Citadel on like the first try, and then I went back. I'm like, I'll give it another shot, and I got to the Citadel, and I'm like, holy crap,
Just the
this
cutscene.
is so cool.
Yeah, the music swelling when you see the Citadel for the first time. It's
Like
incredible.
my whole life changed at that point.
Maybe it brought you here ultimately.
Maybe.
Yeah, I actually had a weird thing with Mass Effect 2. Sorry to be stuck on this Mass Effect train, where I love the first one so much. Out of the gate, like even though the opening of Mass Effect 2 is awesome, when it comes to like the gameplay beyond that opening, I was like, it's just too different. I miss Mass Effect 1. I was being a little baby snob like Dan about ketchup. And it honestly, it took a while for me to warm up and then eventually realize like, oh no, it's one of the greatest games ever. I gotta stop being so stubborn with everything different in the world.
Yeah.
So, Tack, which Mass Effect game did it take you a while to get into?
Mine wasn't
mobile
Mass
one?
Effect, and I've actually talked about this before, but mine is Dark Souls.
Oh, yeah, that's
mean,
right.
I couldn't figure that game out heads or tails when I started playing. I'm just like, what the hell is this? All right, I'm at a bonfire. I'm going to go into the graveyard. Wow, these skeletons like one-shot me. What the is this game?
Yeah.
It's like that, you know, and then after coming back to it, I think it took me a couple times, then I'm like, wow, actually this is damn good.
Yeah, for us in the office, it was a little bit weird because it was like, it was Demon Souls and then obviously Dark Souls 1. And for both those in the office, it was like Jim Riley, old news editor, and Phil Kohler were into it. But like there was never a moment, because Jim Riley was had odd taste in games, and there was never a moment where either of them like grabbed us by the shoulders and said like, no, you don't understand, these games are amazing. It was just like, yeah, we like them. It felt like an EDF style love, you know, where it's like, I don't know what these weirdos are into, but I'll let them enjoy that stuff on the side. And I wish they would have been more forceful, but like, no, you idiots don't get it.
No, I think I did that, right?
Well, when you got here, yeah, but at that point, everybody got it.
I
You
know.
didn't- You didn't teach us
I was late to
nothing.
the party. Yeah, all right, fine.
Yeah, forget about it. Terry from St. Louis, Missouri says, not long ago, we were all clamoring for everything ever to be on the Nintendo Switch. Yep. Now announcements are met with a ridiculous chorus of, wait, what? With everything from Crystal Chronicles to Saints Row 3 getting ported to Switch. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Just the
That was at the
Chronicles.
top of everyone's list.
Yeah, let's play a quick game of pick your Switch port. Consider not just what is your favorite game, but also what would be a good fit for the platform. All right, pick your Switch port. Everyone's favorite game. Ready, Dan Tack?
Final Fantasy Tactics.
I don't think that's an option. No, there's like either or is coming up here.
Okay.
Oh, really?
This is not out of the blue.
Oh, I can't just say anything?
You have to choose between these
All right.
two.
Okay.
Only one
This
is
or
coming
that.
to the Switch, and
Okay.
this is ironclad. Batman Arkham Collection or Portal Bundle?
Portal Bundle.
Portal.
If it includes like the custom maps from Portal 2,
What you
like
could play on
download them and then take them on the go,
That'd be
it'd be
great.
incredible. Yeah, love that.
Batman.
Co-op.
I might be Batman too. As much as I love Portal, it's like I don't know if I would play through those
Exactly.
again on the Switch. Whereas Batman,
would.
I feel like
I don't want to be on
me
a plane solving puzzles. Like,
Come on, planes aren't times for puzzles. Okay, GTA 5 or Red Dead Redemption?
Oh, Red Dead Redemption.
Red Dead
Red Dead.
Redemption.
Yep.
Yep. Which do you think is realistically coming first, though?
Neither.
You don't think GTA 5's ever come to the Switch?
No, it could not handle it.
What?
I don't think so.
boom.
If a PS3 can handle it?
No.
well,
I don't know anything technically, but I'll insist that it's possible. Streaming.
Yeah, sure.
Bioshock Collection or Mass Effect Trilogy?
Bioshock Collection.
Mass Effect.
Oh my God.
That would be what gets me to finally
Mass
play Mass
Effect.
Effect, I think.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Yeah. I've tried the first one a bunch and never stuck with it.
Well, if you learned anything, maybe you should try going back to it.
Right.
That's the secret. Super Mario Sunshine or Metroid Prime Trilogy?
Prime Trilogy.
Prime Trilogy.
Prime Trilogy. Sure.
Mario.
Wow, you rebel. Resident Evil 4 or Wind Waker? The two port champions here.
Wind Waker.
Yeah, Wind Waker.
I think Wind Waker.
I'll go RE4.
Monkey Ball or Wii Sports?
Wait.
What?
How would Wii Sports even work?
You could use the...
Nunchucks?
Yeah, you
Or
could
not
use the little
nunchucks,
Joy-Con.
sorry. The Joy-Cons. We're
Yeah,
saying nunchucks.
that would totally work.
Just because I want to see how. Because
I think it
have
would
to
work
see
fine.
I'll go with the Wii Sports then.
Yeah, that would be a great thing to have portable
Yeah,
two-player.
mobile bowling.
That would
Dude,
be weird,
rooftop parties?
but yeah, maybe.
There's bowling and Monkey Ball. I think Monkey Ball, like the bite-sized levels structure of Super Monkey Ball,
I
seems
was never
perfect for
that
that.
Both would be
big
great.
into that one.
Oh, really? I just don't like the camera. I don't like when you move in Monkey Ball, the camera like does a Dutch angle for the angle that you're moving. It's too much. It's too much. Anyways, Beyond Good and Evil or Sands of Time?
Beyond Good and Evil.
Yeah.
Gams.
I think Beyond Good and Evil.
Yeah.
Sure.
Beautiful Joe or Psychonauts?
Psychonauts.
Psychonauts.
Wow.
I can't believe I even
I think
hesitated.
Psychonauts. Yeah.
I might go Beautiful Joe. Star Fox 64 or Pokemon Snap?
Pokemon Snap.
Pokemon Snap.
Pokemon Snap.
The more platforms we get on that, the better.
Yeah,
need a
we
new
need
one.
to- yeah,
we need a
That'd
new
be
game.
awesome.
Absolutely. We should just project it onto buildings just to
I
remind
agree.
people how good that game
Let's
is.
do it.
Also, Dan, what is that genre for Pokemon Snap?
Did we ever decide?
No.
I don't think we did. It's
No.
its own thing.
Yeah. It's what killed Stephen Hawking, who's trying to figure it out.
First person snapper.
Yeah. Metal Gear Solid or Castlevania Symphony of the Night?
Castlevania.
MGS.
See, I never
Yes.
got into Castlevania much, so that could be like my entry point probably.
It could be, but it won't be. I'm with you. Like, I tried
okay.
going back and playing it too recently. I was like, but it's great. Everybody loves it.
But it is great.
But don't
not
leave
great,
a
but just not
comment.
That's what I
enough
keep
to pick.
hearing.
Just not great enough to pick.
Yeah. All right, that's Terry from St. Louis, Missouri. Thank you, Terry. Also, we got an email from Kip in Waynesboro, Pennsylvania. It says, "Dear Mr. Ben," and then Jill in the booth, if you want to get this close up here, just a spray can that says Dan Tack on it.
Yes.
What is this?
It's actually a brand of adhesive spray. If you search for me, it's actually have to compete with that in Google results. And it's,
Really?
yeah, it's a thing.
So it's either like your face next to a painting of a dog or whatever, and then Dan Tack.
Industrial. I don't know if it's an adhesive removal spray. There's all kinds of stuff. you
Is
can
it
do with that.
is tack part of the name, or is it like tack as
That's
in
part
like
of the brand.
sticky tack?
It's part of the brand.
So wait, Dan Tack is the brand?
Dantec is the brand.
Is it founded by a guy named Dan Tack?
I very much doubt it.
So I can buy a can of Dan
You
Tack?
can buy a can of Dantec.
Wow.
We can get
Wow.
a can of Dantec and put it right.
I
here on the
would
table.
love one on the set. That'd be
All
so
right.
much fun.
Totally.
Yeah. Have you opened a can, Dan?
I've never seen a can in
You
real
should
life.
own one of these.
Yeah,
Put it
that's
on your
crazy.
shelf.
I'll go order one. as
How
soon as we're
often
done
do
the
people
show.
bring
It's
this
like
up?
a trophy. With your name
Not
on
too
it.
often, but every so often, a couple times a year.
A couple times a year.
Yeah.
That's the perfect ratio. Like, Leo probably gets too many Darth Vader references. Like, what number are you at
Yeah,
a year?
that's pretty boring.
A
Or
year?
Not boring.
Yeah.
365,000.
That's a lot.
Is it ever funny when people bring up your last name's Vader?
It doesn't like bother me or anything. I
Yeah.
get why they do it. There are times where I'm so excited to say something, I forget if this person hears that a million times, you know?
Yeah.
For me, I get snazzy sports cars.
What the hell are you talking about?
There's an Elise car.
Oh, a snazzy Elise sport car.
Sports car.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Huh, that's interesting. I get Mbop like every 4 to 6 months. I love it. That song's great.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not sick of it. Like, it's just a good rare occasion that somebody will bring that up.
Yeah, they'll say, "Oh, like the song," and you say, "Yes." Would you like to listen to it with me?
Seriously, listen to it, not just hum the
Hear
words.
it.
Yeah, hear it for the first time. Okay, what do you guys like for question of the week?
Disney songs.
Really?
Yeah. That's my pick anyway.
I liked the switch ports. Choose between the two.
That was
thing.
good.
I was going to
was like
suggest
a-
that one too.
Yeah.
Made a game out of it, kind of.
Yeah, I also like because we kind of got to cover newsy stuff. I like the streaming to the Switch thing as well.
Yeah.
But Elise, all right, since it's your big show back, all right, we'll give it to Terry from St. Louis, Missouri. Congratulations,
Yay.
straight to Terrytown,
Yay.
God's country, up on the big board. Okay, as for now, Spider-Man Act 2. We're gonna dive in deep. Leo's there. We're gonna rope in some other hoodlums. It's gonna be a great time. So stay tuned for a
Should
deep
have
dive.
said web in or something.
We're gonna
yeah.
time to swing in.
Tangle them in this web.
There we go. Spider-Man Game Club coming up. Imagine right now, like the Marvel logo, things are. And we're back. Game Club here. GI Game Club, that is, for Spider-Man. Talking about Spider-Man on the PlayStation 4. I'm still here. Everybody's still here. Leo Vader.
Hi.
The Boy Wonder. We have Sergio Vasquez.
Hello.
Oh, pow. We have Ben Reeves,
Oh, hello.
the Spider Nut himself.
Here I am.
Oh my gosh, we're talking about everything in Insomniac Spider-Man on the PlayStation 4 system up until the end of Act 2, which is, spoiler, the big prison break sequence that they showed in exhaustive detail at E3 this year. So not much of a spoiler, but that is the benchmark. So we're spoiling everything up until that point. So please don't watch if you haven't played that far. Oh my gosh, we have a lot of emails that people send into podcast@gameformer.com. The next episode will be next week, so if you have thoughts on the game in its entirety, the ending, the third act, everything, send it into podcast@gameformer.com. Specific, tiny details, things that stand out that no one else has talked about yet. That is the ideal email.
People keep talking about a post-credit sequence. I can't wait to figure out what that is.
Oh, really? I saw like a YouTube video in my feed that said like, is this going to be DLC? And it's like, oh, well, that's a bummer now that I know that it's not in the main game. So, but other than that, I've really been spoiled. How are you guys doing?
No, yeah, I'm remarkably clear.
I'm pretty good.
Here's a broad question.
great.
Well, let's ignore that one. How about just in general? Act 2, have your feelings changed at all, Reeves, on the game?
I think I've enjoyed it more actually than I did for the first part.
Oh, okay.
Which I wasn't like down on it or anything, but yeah, I think I've just grown to appreciate it even more because I think there were several scenes in this second section that I thought were just brilliant.
Brilliant. Because what was striking to me about last week's discussion with the Game Club was like, I saw you tweet just based on Act 1. You're like, this is going to be my game of the year. Absolutely love it. You tweeted something to that effect, didn't you?
Well, it's my game of the year so far. I mean,
Right.
I'm Red Dead, obviously, looking forward to that. But
Yeah,
so who
looming on
knows?
the horizon.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyways, in the conversation, I feel like your enthusiasm didn't come through as much.
Yeah, I listened back to it too, and I feel like I was a little more subdued, and I don't know why that is.
You're not articulate?
Yeah, I think that's part of the problem.
Okay, but
I
actually,
like it.
you're enjoying it even more.
I would
for
say
these
I'm
moments.
enjoying it even more. Yeah, there's a lot of scenes like the scene. I'm enjoying the story more too, which is part of
Yeah.
it. I think I was maybe a little down on the story for the first part, but like
Okay.
this second half, like watching Doc Ock slowly become who he Doc Ock
From Doc
like,
to Ock.
Yeah, I thought it was
Yeah.
really actually kind of cool, like his
Yeah.
character art, and then the stuff with Mary Jane and Peter was just really cool as well.
Those
the
two-
texting scene like was really
Yep,
cool.
Yeah,
those two
that
in
seems good.
particular, they're huge. That's a large amount of emails that we'll definitely get into. Sergio Vasquez, what do you think about Act 2 in general?
I explored the city more during this act because
Yeah.
I had to kind of rush through Act 1 at first, but I'm enjoying it more. I had a weird sort of crescendo and then falling off a little bit in the combat, in that I got to a point
Yeah.
where I was using all of my options and sort of had upgraded enough skills that I had way more options during combat, and I felt like, okay, this is actually like really good and I'm enjoying it a lot, like being able to sort of string together these different sort of combos together, and it looked really cool. And then I'm just now getting to the point where it's like, all right, I feel like it's not offering me too many new challenges,
Right.
but I'm still really enjoying it more so. And I think I've come around more on the stealth.
Really?
Yeah. I actually have been liking those parts more
As
than
Spider-Man specifically, or
as Spider-Man. Sorry.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Not the,
All right, we'll get into the other
Sorry, yeah,
stuff.
I forgot there were other stealth sequences. But
Well,
like
right
when
there.
you're in stealth as Spider-Man, I think I've actually gotten to really like those segments because like I like stealth, and so like the idea of switching it up for that reason, I think has made the combat sort of given it a little bit more diversity. But
Totally. Real quick on that note, first email here. John from Temple City, California says, email doesn't especially pertain to Act 2 of Spider-Man, but since I haven't still heard another person talk about it, I want to mention the feature that I wanted to write in about. I'm talking about when you're in stealth and you hit R3 and the HUD shows whether or not it's safe to take out an enemy and remain in stealth. I think this is a little cheaty, but nonetheless brilliant. It shows an enemy is safe, you can take them out without another enemy noticing, or danger if performing a takedown will alert the rest of the bad guys. That is super specific. I don't think I've been using that, really.
yeah, I've been using that a lot.
I had an epiphany playing this session. I'm also, I think, enjoying it more. And I've had this weird thing where I don't really like open world games. I don't like seeing a map filled with clutter and things to do. And so I throw up a little bit in my mouth whenever I look at that map. And it's like, God, there's so much. What are you doing, video
Keep
game
adding
club?
more.
But I got to the end of the game club, and it's like, all right, time to move on to Dragon Quest 11, make a little more progress in that. And I just kept coming back to it and kept doing more and more side activities
that's cool.
to a shocking degree. But something which is so stupid, all of Act 1, I didn't use R3 to like scan the environment for like finding backpacks and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So I was just like listening to where it was and trying to pinpoint it there. I had no idea that
listening to it.
because it makes a little beep.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm a backpack.
Yeah, over here, but he was like, oh, on the left or the right. But it's like, oh, it just tells you exactly where it is. It is so much easier to just constantly spam R3 in all situations.
I think they did a really good job of making it so you're not sort of hitting up a guide. And I think that it's
Yeah.
it's maybe a little too simple. Like there aren't a lot of, like very involved side missions, but I think it works in this game because those really are just a conduit to just continue to swing, to continue to fight, and continue to basically play that game in a way that I don't think would have worked in another game where the combat wasn't so good and the traversal itself wasn't fun.
yeah.
And if you really want to hunt around for something, the Black Cat missions are right there.
Yeah, which actually end up being my least favorite side missions that I've
Those
done.
are absurd. Yeah. So real quick, let's just keep going here. Tim Pezdziorni is how he says it's pronounced. From Massachusetts, he says, Game Crew, hello, I'm Game Club Crew. I'm liking the game. I enjoy the occasional break when Spider-Man says something like, I'll check the city for crimes. I always do the city crimes that I see get called in while on my way to do the next story mission, but I never decide to clear out all the activities. Peter can't be too tardy, I've been playing on the toughest difficulty and with my Xbox Elite controller, and the game has been kicking my butt. It feels narratively.
Yeah, you've got the wrong controller plugged in.
Yeah, you got to go for another controller. Also, he's playing on his PS4, so this doesn't make any sense.
Spider-Man's not doing anything.
But I'm driving this car in Forza.
It feels narratively awkward to be defeated by the baddies so often because the crime ends and Spider-Man reawakens as if it were an hour later and the scene is all cleaned up. But what do you guys? I like those little moments where it's like it'll take a couple minutes before the mission will pop in, and Spider-Man's just like, well, better make my route, better make the patrols, trying to push you subtly towards the open world stuff, but it's never in your face.
I think it's smart, and it's not like there are some games that block you off from doing the next main mission by you have to complete a certain number, and like this isn't that. It's just like if you swing around for a minute, usually the next mission will pop up anyway. So it's like it's a cool combo.
Yeah.
It's also like you hear a lot of criticisms about open world games of like, oh, why I'm trying to save the world from this imminent danger. Why am I off, doing all these side activities? And I feel like that this was sort of them very directly addressing that sort of like, narrative concern.
Right.
There are lulls built in to the story. Yeah, I like that.
And lulls. Brady Easter writes in and says, I'm a do everything I can before advancing the critical path kind of player, especially with open world games. As such, I did all the demon thug encounters in each district before they bombed City Hall. On numerous occasions after beating up the demon thugs, a police officer would say something about things being bad after City Hall. I thought this was weird, but I dismissed it as just as world building. Maybe there was some City Hall incident that happened earlier in the lore that I didn't catch. It wasn't until the City Hall attack that I realized that dialogue was accidentally out of place and actually referencing something in the game that hadn't happened yet.
That's amazing.
That's cool.
He said, anybody else catch this? No, I think you're the
It's
only
cool
one.
that he caught it, not the feature. But like that sounds like
It's not cool that City Hall was
that's not
bombed.
cool.
Yeah.
Don't bomb City Halls, people.
Yeah.
I was mad about that scene. I was against it.
Wes from Atlanta says, hey, GI Crew, I'm about 20 hours deep into the game now, and I've really found myself feeling generally bored by side missions. I love the story and really prefer to just ignore the side missions overall. But if I do that, I miss out on all the extra content like suits, power-ups, gadgets, etc. I don't remember feeling this way with other open world games, and I'm wondering if it's just because the story missions of this game are so dang good.
Yeah, I think the side content's a little weaker than maybe it could be. Like, I think the structure of it is all really good. I think the one point where it falters is that some of the side content is not as fun to participate in.
Yeah, what do you guys like doing?
I like doing the research stuff, actually. I like the way it kind of changed. Even though a lot of it is like super ridiculous. Like there's one mission where in order to investigate these little like bits of smoke or smog or something, you're like swinging into them and like it just seems like a really weird thing. But as a like, hey, go around these specific points and swing basically for fun. I think they work, but I mean like narratively, I think there's not a lot of like substance to them.
Yeah.
The I like doing all just like the little blue diamond shapes, just the side missions, just the vanilla side missions. I think you get the most XP for doing those as well.
Yeah.
And there's been like some fun stuff in there, like the idea of like, did you do the one with like the internet celebrity?
Yeah.
Okay, where she's like streaming and it just gets like dark and weird as she's making Spider-Man do all these things more and more, like take out these snipers and stuff.
Yeah, that and the Tombstone one were maybe two of my favorites.
Yeah, Tombstone was a surprising thing. That was the first time where like the side objective opened up for me. Did you guys all do the Tombstone stuff?
I did.
Okay. He's a guy.
He's a guy.
He shows up in the main story.
Yeah. It is. And then it gives you the option of branching off?
Right.
Is that what it is? You're
Yeah,
right.
because
Okay.
there's the Mary Jane scene. That's part of the main story, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
then
is
there's a
Tombstone-
side mission where you run after.
No one would do Mary Jane scene by choice.
Right.
That's right.
Is Tombstone a big part of the comics?
I wouldn't say a big part. He is a villain in there.
Okay.
He looks a little bit different in the comics, but I don't know. He was cool.
He
It
just
was cool
seems
to see
like
him.
he seems like Luke Cage. He's just like invincible.
Yeah, very similar power set,
Okay.
but he's a villain. So
Gotcha.
that's how he's different, I would
Yeah.
say.
Well, what about this then? We have Wyatt from New York City. New York City, everybody. Saying, hey, right there. I was so happy to see two of my favorite street-level villains in the game. Tombstone and Taskmaster are some of my favorite Marvel villains, and it was amazing to not only encounter them in the game, but have them appear as boss fights. Cool thing is that you might have missed them if you weren't doing side content, so it feels like the game is rewarding me for my investment. I did not think the fights were all that unique, though. Tombstone's just a big guy you have to wear down until you can get a quick-time event, and Taskmaster is just waiting for the perfect counter-attack, similar to how Deathstroke was treated in Arkham Origins. Regardless, I was so happy to see them both appear. They were great throwbacks to the 1990s animated series that was on Fox.
Right. I thought the Taskmaster thing was actually really cool. I was excited to see him.
I didn't do any of that. What is that?
Those are the challenges popped up for you, right?
Yeah,
There's like
I
the
guess
crazy
so.
guy on some monitor. Hey, some crazy guys putting bombs all over the place.
Yeah, but it's like a mysterious thing who it actually was. Okay.
Yeah. So spoilers. It's Taskmaster.
Yeah, and his boss fight is okay.
Is you fight him twice. I don't know if I'm going into spoiler territory. You have to do them all to like all of his missions to unlock him.
Oh, okay.
That final fight with him.
Right.
He kicked my ass the first time, but then like after I learned you're really just waiting for a counter and then you just counter him.
Yeah.
And that's all that fight really is.
Yeah, the Tombstone fight was okay. It kind of gave you God of War vibes. I don't know if you guys finished that one then, where it's like the building's burning down. He has like a flaming whip and he's like throwing it around and stuff.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, like with everything in this game, I had a tough time bringing him down and I died way too many times. It's
Yeah,
tough, man.
I threw a lot of my I electrocuted him a lot, so I threw a lot of my little buddies at him and
Yeah.
kept shooting my web shooters at him.
Smart.
It did okay. Also, I switched over to the suit where you slowly fill up your meter. You know what I'm talking about? Your focus meter, and then you can like do whatever that X circle move is on him.
Oh, okay, like the
down?
finisher
yeah,
thing?
Yeah, the finisher on him a couple times.
Interesting.
If somebody's struggling with that, there you go.
Yeah. Aaron Bivens says, one thing I have to say about combat is how freaking overpowered is the Web Blossom suit power? I mean, holy crap. Using a group of guys, you'll eventually and usually take out 4 or 5 all at once. And it fills your focus meter like crazy. Seriously, if you haven't used it yet, try it. Is that the one where it just fires everything?
Yes.
Is it like the
Yeah.
base suit?
It's like the normal Spider-Man suit. Right?
Yeah. I haven't used that yet.
Oh man.
Okay.
It's so every time I unlock a new suit, I try the power, but I haven't found anything that I go back to as consistently as Web Blossom.
So what's your suit right now? What's your makeup?
Well, I'm wearing the cartoon suit actually.
Oh,
'cause
I don't
thought
have
was
that
fun.
one yet.
Yeah.
I really want
It's
that
for all
one.
the backpacks. Is that right?
I don't know how I unlocked it. Yeah, just at some
I
point
think you
got
just.
it.
I think most of the suits I've unlocked have just been through like leveling up and doing
Right,
stuff.
yeah.
So.
Oh, okay.
I've
But
been
that
using
one's
the Spider Bro one from the Homecoming suit, which is basically it's super similar in that it's just like here's this drone that just fires this wave of electricity that stuns everybody,
Yeah.
and then you just get to whoop ass basically.
That's exactly what I've been using too. I just love the look of that suit. It's called the Stark suit in there. I've been wearing that one the most, and then the power I think is fun. And like that Spider Bro takes so many things out. Like, it's really nice just to see the entire play field just electrocuted for a while.
Yeah, but there are some of those powers that I look at and I'm like, that's neat, but it's nowhere near as powerful as like Web Blossom or
Yeah,
the
Web
Spider Bro.
Blossom.
Yeah,
one.
they're
So a
more
lot of
just
them
like fun to experiment with.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
one where you hover in the air for a long time, which is kind of fun to play around with. And there's another one where if you punch dudes, they like fly really far, which is almost kind of like they almost feel like codes in a way.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, here's a cheat code you can unlock
Yeah.
back in,
Yeah.
like the PS1 era. It's fun to mess around with, but it's not something I go back to.
I think there's one where
consistently.
like you can sort of web throw people without having to web them up first, which is like that's a like that's a neat thing, but it's not as like again it's not as powerful as like some of
Right.
the other suits.
I haven't been using it really until Act 2 again. I've been very stupid with this game. So now I'm starting to use that like ultimate suit power more and more.
Yeah.
Like in the first act, I barely used it at all.
I've been using the velocity suit, which is the one where if you sprint, it pushes people away. It creates like this
Oh.
wind tunnel and you just knock people around. It's really fun to do on rooftops and just run in a circle and knock everybody off.
That's good. But they don't die. Of
course
very
not.
clear.
No.
Also,
Even though
I
I kick
didn't
them
know-
off buildings frequently, they don't
go ahead.
die.
Oh, well, Marty Crowley from Springfield, Illinois says, the whole Spider-Man never kills thing is still hilarious in certain situations. I've drop-kicked guys off of skyscrapers, dodged incoming bullets only to have that unlucky guy get shot by one of his friends, watched Sable soldiers fire shots like it's Call of Duty all over New York City streets. In one particularly funny instance, I watched Spider-Man lift a car off a civilian and drop it on an unconscious thug's head. It doesn't ruin the game for me or anything, and I get that it requires a suspension of disbelief, but sometimes it's just too funny to ignore.
Yeah. Did they talk at all when you were out there, Leo, about like did Marvel require them to make sure that Spider-Man didn't kill?
Oh, I assume they did, but I don't know if they explicitly said it.
I'm
I
sure it
think-
was a like on high. Marvel says Spider-Man can't kill. I'm sure it came from them.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I think even during the E3 presentation, I feel like Brian Intar hinted or talked about that idea of like, well, that's a rule of the characters that this guy cannot kill anybody.
And people who fall off buildings always get trip mined to the side. I mean, I guess there's like exceptions that have been posted on Twitter or whatever,
Yep.
but like if you follow them down, you're going to see them not
Yeah.
die.
That's so amazing. Like, what a tiny detail for like, hey, the lore has to be consistent. You have to do this technically very challenging thing, studio. Have at it.
I kind of appreciate it.
Yeah,
it's kind
yeah,
of cool.
it's cool.
Has Spider-Man ever killed anybody in the comics?
I
Gwen
don't know if it's
Stacy.
still canon. Yeah, some people consider he killed Gwen Stacy, and
Really?
then like there was like some Wolverine comic where he killed a lady.
For fun?
In
Just
the
to watch her
80s,
bleed?
Yeah,
Oh my God. Kyle from
in
Hudson.
Reno. Yeah, sorry, that's too late.
Kyle from Hudson, North Carolina, writes in and says, hey, I want to thank you guys for posting that Spider-Man 6 stunts video. I finished everything up to the Game Club stopping point, so instead of just sitting around waiting for Hurricane Florence to hit me, I decided I'd had a lot of fun to watch the Spider-Man 6 stunts video. Leo, do you want to explain what that was?
Yeah, that's us dinking around in Spider-Man. It's like an hour and a half recording session of us thinking of weird things we can do, like trying to web somebody to a garbage can and then swing the garbage can around.
Yeah.
And then we just cut it to when we successfully do those things or get close to it. And it just ends up being a really fun video. We've done a few of them and they're always great.
Yeah, it's an editing miracle, but this one really caught on. It's like over 1 million views, which for us is a very big deal.
Yeah.
But it's you guys being very funny. You should watch that. It's on our YouTube channel.
We had fun.
Reeves, it's so sweet.
That's right.
Okay, let's get to it. Chris Reardon here from New Bedford, Massachusetts says, am I a big sap?
Yeah.
Or was the sequence with Miles at Feast the most moving part of the story so far? Everything from the play fighting with Spider-Man to the moment with Ernie in the TV, I was fighting back tears the whole time. The raft sequence was huge and dynamic, but that Feast sequence really nailed this game's story down for me as the best in a superhero game I've ever played.
I think it was a similar thing. It was right before that where he Spider-Man rescues him.
Yes.
And then he does him a little teaches him a little bit. Here's how you hold your hand and this.
Yes.
That's what got to me.
100%.
And then there was a point where I think Spider-Man actually holds his jaw a little bit or something after he gets punched.
Well, let me read it here. Yeah, so first of all, David Lewis from Long Island says, my favorite moment in Act 2 is probably when Spider-Man stops to talk with Miles and gives him a lesson on how to defend himself. What I loved about that scene, too, was I love that Spider-Man was walking away, then he catches himself, nope, I'm actually going to have this cute little moment with this kid.
It shows this, he's actually a good guy at heart. He actually wants to help people. That's what I appreciate.
Yeah.
That little touch of him holding his jaw really got me, too. I was like, that's cool.
Okay, here's what that is. So that's Hazel Mohammed from Florida, friend of the show. He says, Miles punching Spider-Man without triggering his spider sense could be a possible hint that Miles already has possession of his ultimate Spider-Man powers or is in the process of developing them, since Peter should have been able to dodge that punch without being surprised when it connected. Does that hold true to you?
I wonder if he just didn't sense it as a threat, and basically his spider sense didn't trigger it since he didn't believe there was malice behind it.
Okay.
So it's maybe it's kind of a weird semantics thing, but
Or he was just being nice.
yeah.
So you're saying he intentionally got hit?
Yeah.
Okay.
He could have, yeah.
Nice try, Miles, dumbass. Flip, flip, flip.
Also,
Webs him to the building.
Suddenly becomes a crime indicator on the map.
Mr. Muhammad also says, hey, that stealth mission with Miles crossing a Sable checkpoint was absurd. You're telling me Miles is willing to get incarcerated by Sable security instead of just going around the checkpoint because he was running late at his first day at Feast?
I also
Right.
thought that was weird.
Hack into this technology.
Yeah, from this crazy militarized police force. This will be
Yeah.
funny. But my mom wants me to work at the one place.
I can't be 15 minutes late on my first day.
Yeah, I agree. The fighting thing worked a lot better for me than the thing at Feast. I don't know. I thought that one guy, the old guy in the chair, dumb guy, this police officer got himself killed, was a little...
But his son's stupid, too.
Doesn't know how to serve coffee right, I darn near reckon. Yeah, but Miles overall,
As a character?
sure. All smiles
Cool.
on this end.
Yeah, I like him.
All Miles.
right.
I keep waiting for that moment where it's he's going to become the other Spider-Man or something.
That's at the end
Yeah.
of the game, right?
Yeah, it's got to be, right?
It has to be.
That has to be what the post-credits thing is.
I think his
That's what I
arc
predict.
is sort of one of my favorites so far in the game.
Yeah.
In terms of them sort of meeting out sort of his character development in a very not super comic booky, in a very sort of subdued way, of just we're gonna drip feed you this information, but at the end that there's a good chance this guy becomes another Spider-Man.
I bet, what percentage of people playing the game? We talked about it a little bit last week where the guy didn't recognize Miles necessarily, but what do you guys think? What percentage of players overall are going to be surprised when he becomes another Spider-Man? I bet it's 40%.
Yeah,
I'd
that's
say
about
so.
right.
How many people listening to this podcast right now are going to be surprised?
5%.
Just not paying attention very well. Don't know what I'm talking about.
Right. They're doing their dishes. They don't really give an ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said over 40?
I think so. For general populace that see a Spider-Man game on the shelf and it's Tobey
Yeah.
Maguire's my boy.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
seems about right.
right.
Maybe even 50? I don't know.
Do you guys want to dive into the juiciest stuff here? By far, number one email lightning
Oh, yeah.
rod
Oh, yeah.
was a certain man named Otto Octavius.
Oh, interesting.
People are into this, very into this.
Okay.
Or not. Let's find out. Mike from Columbus, Ohio says, hey, I just finished listening to the first Spider-Man Game Club. I was a little surprised no one mentioned the Octavius minigame dealing with the circuits. Oh, this is a preamble. I have 2 puzzles left, and I'm conflicted with finishing them. It seems to me that the puzzles are designed to make Doc Ock's arms better. I'm going to fight him later. Would I want to make his tech weaker?
That's a good point.
I did them all, actually, by the way.
Me too.
Yeah? What happens? I don't understand what I did.
Me neither. Well, what I did was I went to accessibility and I put on the option to skip mini games, and I just went down that list and skipped every
really?
single one, and you get all the
that's
XP and
awesome.
everything.
Oh, that sounds very good. I also turned that on in the options, and you feel like you're cheating, and it's just the best feeling. I love skipping all that stuff. But the first time I felt bad about it was in like the story sequence where he's finally finishing off the arms, and it's like, I need some help putting these together, Peter. And it's like, oh, I bet this would be interesting when you see that something's gone wrong, like in the wiring. If you don't cheat, is it like impossible to solve or like harder to solve? Is there any like story integration in the puzzle that I missed?
They're still solvable. You solve the puzzle and you're like, oh no, it's like overriding this other area, and you just do another puzzle.
Oh, okay. And again, we're really diving into, I think, what people want to talk about with Doc Ock.
circuits,
and so let's keep Michael Fulton here going. He says, I've been playing through the new Spider-Man game recently, and I've been enjoying it so far, hacking games aside. However, I noticed something rather strange. Inside of Dr. Octavius' laboratory, there seems to be an overabundance of desktop computers. At first glance, this may not seem strange at all, since it's a lab and where research is conducted, but upon further inspection, I believe there may be something far more sinister afoot. For one, all the computers are the exact same model. A last-generation Dell Precision workstation, to be precise, a model which I might add debuted in the early 2010s and isn't very likely to be used in cutting-edge research.
And it was discontinued for being evil.
Secondly, these computers are just stacked haphazardly across the lab. The majority of them aren't even plugged in. Lastly, the most suspicious thing about this is the sheer number of old desktops the good doctor is hoarding. By my count, the man has at least 34 of the same outdated Dell computers strewn across the lab. Wow. So I ask you, please speculate as to what possible nefarious purpose the doctor could possibly be hoarding these computers
Is
for.
34 equally divided by 8? Let's see.
Wait a minute.
Hold
Yes,
on.
it is.
Get out of there, Peter!
I think the solution is actually way simpler in that he knows that he sometimes breaks things, so he just has 33 backups.
Yeah, he bought in bulk.
Yeah.
Smart.
He's a clumsy guy.
God, he's so smart.
It's weird because, like, didn't they take away all of his computers when Osborn came in?
Yeah, and they reinstalled them with 2010 Dell desktop.
Usually when you
specifically.
lose your funding, too, you, like, get kicked out of your, like, lab. So.
Normally, well, I think is he in a new place or is he not?
No, I think he's in the same spot.
Also, when you lose your funding, you'd think you'd lose your funding, but he seems to have a lot of money to pay the Sinister Six. I'm confused about a lot
And
of this
those
stuff.
arms look expensive, so I don't know what he's
Yeah,
doing.
2 extra arms, let alone 4.
It's also weird that like at some point he went from like, oh, these are human hands to like, no, claws are way cooler.
Yeah.
And at some point just like that seemed to have come out of nowhere.
Well, I
for me.
forgot I'm a bad guy, so I need to have evil hands.
Well, I think it was that case of like he had so many of those like voice messages that he left for Peter, Spider-Man, right, where he's like, I realized I can be more than human. How about that, Peter? Like there are a lot of things where it's like, why stop at the human body? Hands suck was kind of the PS message. I feel
But
like.
those, like, fake, the new claws just look so particularly evil. Like, you couldn't have, like, I don't know, made the corners a little bit more rounded.
This is also
Or
my
had
big
it happen later.
Yeah,
honestly.
this is also my biggest takeaway with that entire section is like, especially because of all the backpacks and Peter talking about all the villains he's fought in the past, how much experience this Spider-Man has. Like, you don't see this bad guy arc coming along with Doc Ock. It's like such a slow burn of like, hang on, I can be more than human. Hang on, I'm getting more and more evil. Like, wait a minute, this computer's malfunctioning. It's alternating my personality. And Spider-Man's just like, what are you going to do?
Wow, Doc's really fired up. He's really excited.
Wouldn't you understand where this ball is rolling towards, Peter? Come on, man. But real quick, again, before we get to the juicy stuff, Mason from South Carolina says, I just wanted to write in and gush about William Salyer's performance as Octavius. He brings such great depth to the character, and I love how he transforms from this innocent scientist by trying to do good into Doc Ock. Also, as a side note, am I the only one that thought he was going to end up with just 4 normal prosthetic arms on his back? Like the one him and Peter are working on towards the beginning and middle of the game. It was reassuring when Peter goes by after his breakthrough to see him with the classic claw-like arms on his back.
Just on his back, the arms are carrying him running around.
Yeah.
What do you think, Pete?
Well, there was that one scene where the arm moves and, like, the fingers stretch out really long and look a little more
Yeah.
claw-like. I was like, oh, that's cool. I wonder if they'll do that.
I didn't understand what was happening in that scene where Peter went there and he had like the remote control early on, like testing out the arm. And then like he just like started shaking with the remote control and it was like clear that the experiment was a failure, but I didn't understand. Like, was it resisting the remote control or what was happening there?
Wait, Spearman wasn't a failure. He was just bad at it.
Bad at controlling it. Yeah.
And then he figured out how to juggle with it.
And now he will not stop juggling.
Which I feel like you still have to know how to juggle
That's
to
what
control it
I-
to do that.
Yeah, it's a lot of muscle memory there.
Set it to juggle.
This is finally as good at juggling as I am.
Pretty good. Peter Castro says, I really like the different angle that Insomniac is going for with all these characters because Otto isn't a bad guy for a while and neither is Norman Osborn. Again, not yet. Even though he's a jerk to everyone, they're not the supervillains that we normally see them as, which I find to be really refreshing and interesting. Also, this is just totally speculation on my part, but we may even see Venom show up later in an installment because J. Jonah Jameson's son is still in space right now, and Eddie Brock and Peter know each other, with the former still working at the Daily Bugle. Maybe.
So he's gone off of the cartoon, retcon about how Venom came to be.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. Well, that was in the 90s cartoon.
So it's Jameson's
came
son
back with the suit.
Okay. And then he comes back down to Earth and has a suit. And then it still infects Eddie Brock?
Well, Peter has it first, and that's how it gets the spider-like powers.
Oh,
and
of
then
course.
it jumps onto Eddie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
But that's not the original origin of Venom, so I don't know.
Gotcha. I do like the idea of seeing so much of Doc Ock slowly build to this. I do think it helps you connect to the character a lot. But there's a part of me when, there's that first moment where Spider-Man's like, hey, Doc, this isn't cool. It's changing you. But, Doc Ock can't remove the chip on his own, right? And then Spider-Man removes it for him.
Yeah.
And then it's that cool down moment of oh, you're right, Peter. You're absolutely right. I was hoping with every ounce of my being that was going to be the turn and that they weren't going to give you Doc Ock. That was going to be such a convincing moment. I thought that'd be more interesting. He's you know what? You talked me off a ledge. I am your buddy after all. But then it's Spider-Man leaves and then he sees the mayor on TV and then he's like, chip back in. Here we go, boys. Just
Time to be evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't it fun?
It was a weird, it was on some cases, I can kind of see it. It was it was more gradual than I was expecting. But by the time that he sort of emerged at the end of Act 2 as I'm the big bad. I still wasn't completely sold on how sudden that shift was.
Yeah, I hear you.
I like the slow build early on, and it was enough for
Yeah.
me, I guess. But.
I like that they did that and that they gave Doc Ock an origin and that him and Peter have this relationship, but I think I would have preferred to be surprised by something along that arc rather than just, yep, this is going where I would expect it
That's
to.
exactly it. So Graham from London in the UK, he says, yes, it's still here. Cool. This time I want to ask about Doc Ock. At first I really liked the portrayal and his relationship with Peter, but having already seen the tease of the 6th villain during this year's E3 show, it was pretty obvious he would turn full supervillain by the end of the game. Everyone says oh, it's so obvious. Yeah, that he's going to be a supervillain, but I didn't know that he was going to be what Spider-Man was referencing from that E3 tease. Did you guys?
Oh.
I thought so. I mean,
really?
who else would it be, really?
The further in
don't
I
know.
got, I figured it was probably him. Yeah.
Okay. I think this all happened a bit too fast, and overall the characterization of all the Sinister members is heavily reliant on long-term Spidey fans filling in the gaps, and short-term ones just going with it. Is it just me, or does this race to the finish and getting the Sinister Six on screen smack of Sony's previous ambitions of having the evil team-up feature in their ill-fated Spider-Man movies? I'm enjoying the story, but a lot has passed over in order to reach a crescendo, which might not be as earned as they think. Yeah, I think it relies a little bit on some Spider-Man knowledge. It was just a little bit of how'd they all get their suits? What is going on in this
Yeah.
prison? This is really a
that's
lot
good
here.
point. Yeah, I
It's
didn't
almost
look
like
at that.
a mid-game sort of in media res where it's just suddenly all of these new things exist and you're supposed to contextualize how they've become a part of this world, which
Right.
is it makes this weird sort of quick shift to oh, now it's this super now the Sinister Six are the main bad guys, and it feels like it detracts from sort of some of the narrative arcs that it had been setting up until that point. It feels like it feels like a tangent in a weird way, and now we're shifting over to now the Sinister Six are the bad guys.
They give you
Yeah.
some context for not knowing Spider-Man just from having their pictures keep appearing, and even in the
Right,
very first
yeah.
cutscene where it's panning over. But I think it kind of makes sense with Doc Ock presumably being the final bad.
Yeah.
It just having more people for you to fight along the way to the actual main.
Right, we
I
got to get to
assume
that
that's
point.
well, it's interesting how much they set up Mr. Negative though for so long, and you feel like there's going to be more of a
Yeah.
resolution to that story arc. 'Cause
Funny,
he-
It could still be coming.
Because Cole from Bend, Oregon agrees with you, Reeves. They say, I'm sorry, Joseph agrees with you, Reeves. Says, hey, Game Informer, name's Joseph, first-time writer. I wonder what you guys felt about the forming of the Sinister Six and the change in the lead antagonist that happens at the end of the second act. I felt like it did a disservice to Mr. Negative. As the game went on, I loved what they were doing with the character, making him take center stage of what's going on, but as soon as Doc Ock takes center stage, he becomes nothing more than just another henchman. I can understand the other four members following orders, but I felt like Insomniac kind of pulled a Dark Knight Rises, where they developed this one villain and put him in all the promotional work, and then they just made another bad guy.
Yeah. Well, we still have a third of the game to play, so I'm kind of hoping that there's more to it than that. But it does seem like,
Yeah, it definitely felt like for most of the game, it was sort of leading up to like Mr. Negative versus Green Goblin, like in that way
Yeah.
of like, well, maybe not Green Goblin, but like Norman Osborn, of like that was going to be the sort of the third act of like Mr. Negative coming for Norman Osborn,
Right.
and then they kind of sidelined that in favor of like the Sinister Six, because like that could have been its own game, like, and this feels like, oh, we very quickly shifted into like Spider-Man 2 arc or something of
Right.
like this is a whole new thing.
Yeah. Hazal Muhammad also writes in with an interesting thought, which I was also wondering. All right. We see Osborn come into Otto's lab and confiscate most of his equipment because he's a jerk. Yep. Then we see Otto bounce back with apparently help from the Advanced Idea Mechanics, which is essentially a terrorist group that holds technology in high regard. So I can follow the thread since Otto also values technology in his mind, that I'm okay with him teaming up with AIM to get his research up and running again. I'm also okay with AIM using whatever it is that Otto's working on to break people out of the raft for their own reasons. But where things go off the rails is the reveal that Otto was behind the breakout, because that means he was also giving Lee instructions back when he should have just been a mild-mannered research scientist and hadn't gone mad yet due to the neural interface with the mechanical arms. I can't follow the thread that Lee was under Otto's orders to attack Osborn, because at that point in Act 1, Otto wouldn't have anything to persuade Lee other than the fact that they both hate Osborn.
I'm working on these killer arms.
You should really follow my orders. And Lee even
gonna come
says,
through.
when like, why you're doing this, he had some line, he's like, I'm repaying off an old debt. So it seems like everyone's working to repay some debt that Doc Ock can help them with. But that
Yeah.
timeline is confusing. Unless
There
there's
could
something
still
else going
be some
on.
reveal.
Yeah.
That's what I'm wondering. Yeah, because I got the impression that the Mr. Negative thing, it was more personal for some reason with him and Osborn.
Yeah, I thought the
But
paying
maybe
off the debt of like Norman Osborn, screwed me over. No, I'm paying off the debt by screwing him over. Like that. That's what I thought that line was.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I guess I could see that. What do you guys think about the Mr. Negative boss fight overall?
I thought it maybe was less grand in scale. It was also one of those things where you watch enough sort of like superhero media about how superheroes destroy towns and like cause like huge amounts of damage, and you kind of see that play out in this sequence of like, I'm gonna have this train like break through this like street level, and then like, okay, now everyone's safe. Also, I've probably just caused like $2 million in damage.
Right, right.
It was either that or like people die though.
That's true. Like it's a weird thing. It's just like it very much reminded me of like, oh yeah, sometimes superheroes can kind of like do as much damage as they cause. But yes, human lives are important.
Right.
Yeah, I guess.
Or whatever.
Some people really like that the moment with the train, like the reference, like, oh, this worked last time or whatever. Like when he's trying to slow the train
yeah.
down. It's cute.
That was a reference to Spider-Man 2, right? The movie?
Yes, it
I assumed.
is. Yeah, which is now canonical within the world.
That's right. Dr.
Where he
Octopus was
fights
a
Doc Ock.
yeah.
One more
Different
time.
Doc Ock.
Yeah. No relation. Cole from Bend, Oregon says, will we see the Green Goblin in this game? I could see the release of Devil's Breath and a possible infection being the catalyst for the transformation into Green Goblin. I agree, but I think it's going to be at the end setting up the sequel. I think it is going to be Devil's Breath because that was like what they're experimenting on with CRISPR or whatever,
Yeah.
and that'll eventually lead to him becoming
that'll
Green Goblin.
probably
That could be
be
like
the
the
thing.
post-credits like stinger even.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Also, I want to bring up how silly it is, unless it's a comic thing, which we show it all respect in the world. But how silly it was, the idea that Oscorp isn't named after Osborn, it's Oscorp, because they used to call us the O's in high school or college. That is such a silly idea, isn't
Felt like
it?
a little bit of a stretch, but yeah.
Have they ever established that in the fiction?
Not that
before?
I know of. I don't. Yeah, that's not a thing really. But
It was a fun little contribution.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a stretch, but sure, why not? That
Yeah.
technically works. The O's Corp. Ashley in Texas says, howdy. Hello. I thought it was really funny when Mary Jane is looking at the O's Corp inventions in Grand Central Station, and she sees the battery which charges by ambient sound vibrations. Her reaction to infinite power and never having to charge anything is, cool. Are you kidding me? She says.
Well, I mean, you like at this point, I wonder if like people just don't take weird technology with like a grain of salt, because there's a lot of like you heard about wireless charging of like, oh, you just put your phone on this pad and it magically charges the battery, and
Yeah.
like that hasn't turned out to be like as simple or easy or like good as they promised.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
There's always a
Yeah.
skepticism there.
You're
Did
right,
people
man.
write in about that stealth scene too?
Did they ever? What do you think this is?
Oh.
Mike from Skidmore, Connecticut. Hello. Whatever. Says, hello, GI crew. I found myself groaning every time I'm forced into a stealth MJ mission. I was mostly fine with it during Act 1, but now that I'm deeper into the game, I can't help but feel like it really slows down gameplay. I'm definitely enjoying the main story more in the second act, but moments like this MJ sequence and the half-baked side missions I sometimes have to do in order to progress the story are taking me out of it. How do you guys feel about the stealth missions?
Well, I agreed with him until that last one, because I thought the last one where you're working with Spider-Man and
Yes.
taking dudes out was actually kind of cool. And I was like, okay, this is like what those side missions should have always been like. There should have been some more element to it.
I
like,
agree,
make it
and I
cool.
definitely want to talk about that in particular. But the stealth missions, like before that, just the idea of like, watch out for those cardboard boxes and broken bottles on the ground. It's like that's MJ Sinister 2, is bottles and cardboard boxes. Like it's so silly.
Cardboard.
Yeah, and the biggest bummer too is they broke away from it eventually, which I was happy with. But for a lot of these missions, you'll like show up. The pacing in this game is really great for the story. Momentum's moving, and then it's this mission, and this is 15 minutes earlier, and you have to play as MJ.
Yeah.
And it's like it just cuts all forward momentum to now go back in time a little bit and do this mission, which is going to be frustrating.
Yeah, it was like a cool trick once to do 15 minutes earlier, but when it keeps happening, it's like, well, now I know nothing is going to happen for the next 15 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. I know. All right, a gun's going to be pointed at her head at the end of this. Okay.
Yeah.
Hello,
and it-
Dr. Pepper. We meet again.
It also feels like like those missions lack sort of critical insights that would make a flashback worthwhile. I never
Yeah.
feel like, oh, because of this mission, I learned this crucial fact about the story. It's more
Right.
like, by the way, this is how MJ got to where she is. It was like,
Oh, she took this path around the warehouse.
yeah. Instead of like,
Oh, she was caught 14 times and saw that terrible game over screen. Okay. But what's with that game over screen? It's like the cheapest thing in the entire game, and I've seen it more than I've seen New York City at this point. Christ, hello.
Just one-shot fail stealth sequences in general, just not for me.
Yeah. Seeing her
Even if they did
reaction.
have game mechanics in them.
Well, I like too that Peter is like, he has all the amazing technology in the world. He's like, I'll help you out, MJ, because we're gonna be partners. And he just gives her like this device that like chirps a little bit. It's like, give her a gun.
I
or
thought it was a
something.
trip mine, but it's
the
like,
spider
okay.
gun.
It's just like,
Yeah, actually, now
You
you
can take some rocks.
Why doesn't she have all the tools? He should
I
have just
don't
given her
know.
all
I also,
of them.
well, my sort of thing is I wonder if like, here's, a web bomb. And if people found out that she used it, they might be like, "Oh, Spider-Man," and that could be a
interesting.
thing. But I don't know if that's sort of the if that's their
that's
reason
a very
for it.
good logical
I mean,
leap that I'll make.
that's a story conceit, but like gameplay wise, you should have done something more to make those sequences better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
is all I'm
Or like we talked about last week, don't have a
Or don't
gameplay
have them.
mechanic. It's
Yeah.
just an exploratory little moment.
Yeah.
Totally fine.
Totally.
We're adults here.
With like the Miles one we were talking about earlier, I would have been fine with that sequence if you just cut out the sequence where he's like stealthing through that area,
Hacking and all that stuff,
like
yeah.
just
Had him do a
him
cutscene.
wandering
Okay.
through Feast was fun.
Yep, totally agree.
Side note, in the Grand Central Station scene, did you look up after Spider-Man took the guys? Did you look up at
Or,
him?
I'm sorry, Leo, you'll love this part.
Oh, great.
Pizzolato says, one of my favorite moments came during the sequence in Grand Central when you're playing as MJ and trying to reach the hostages and defuse the Devil's Breath bomb. During the stealth sequence, MJ can order Spider-Man to perform perch takedowns on the demons that stand between her and the hostages. Spidey, how do you... Is that a
Man.
word?
Obligingly?
Thank you. Obligingly swoops down, webs up each... By the way, I felt like I was 6 there, but thank you. Word...
Oh,
webs up each enemy and then lifts them up and out of sight toward the ceiling. In many other games, Spidey and the enemies would simply disappear once you leave the frame, but if you tilt the camera overhead, you can actually watch Spider-Man lovingly anchor each enemy to the dome ceiling while he waits MJ's next move, and then he feasts on their blood. What? No. And then the enemies remain dangling from the ceiling for the duration of the sequence, maintaining the immersion. I was impressed that Insomniac put so much effort and thought into such a small detail, one that a majority of players probably wouldn't notice.
If you stay looking at him, Spider-Man sits there, dangling, staring at the guard, doing nothing for 3 seconds, and then he disappears,
Does he really?
which breaks immersion slightly.
Wait, he just vanishes?
He just pops out of the world.
Well, he has that stealth tech in that one hairy side mission, so maybe he just triggers
Yeah.
that in.
Right.
But I thought that was so awesome. That was like one of my favorite moments so far too, is like having her text Spider-Man and then what it feels like just kind of waiting for Spider-Man to arrive and then seeing him crawl along the ceilings. Like I've never experienced that perspective in a superhero game
Yeah, him
before.
swinging.
And they
that
were
was
like,
cool.
here's a vent, go over here. Like, that was
Yeah.
kind of cool calling that out.
That was so awesome. And like I wasn't as into the like, now take out this guy, like the more gamey aspects, but just as a conceit and perspective thing. It was so much fun.
Yeah, I wonder if they had to set that scene up by saying like, "Oh, we're going to try to like sort of, get your feet wet by having these other stealth sequences," but I don't even feel like that those other sequences would have been necessary.
No.
To make that sequence stand out as being like as
Totally.
good as it is.
Oh, yeah. In fact, it would have been maybe stronger. Even.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm controlling Mary Jane, and it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Right.
Pizzolato also writes in and says, hey, also I loved MJ's incredulous, did you just leave your clothes on the kitchen floor? when Peter must abandon cooking dinner in the apartment as he gets called away as Spidey. That was a
pretty good.
genuinely sweet moment, like very cute. Barbara Joe, Game Club champion. What are you doing?
I'm just I'm having memories.
Of that moment in the game. It is a funny idea. Barbara Joe says, "Hey,
Leo's having them too."
what's it like, guys?" Barbara Joe says, "I love the scene between Peter and Mary Jane in her apartment. Video games don't always do a great job with meaningful relationships, but it was really great. It's reminiscent of the best interactions between Nathan and Drake and Elena from Uncharted. Peter and Mary have a history, and they still care about each other. This game is willing to take the time, and their relationship is better for it." I completely agree. Unless you're Nathan Keeling saying, "Hey, the other issue I have with the writing is the weak reason for Mary Jane and Peter to have broken up. She broke up with him because he wants her to be safe. Insomniac kept it under wraps, and that's the best thing they came up with. Mary Jane is a strong-willed female character, so of course she's not just going to sit at a desk. That's totally fine. But why would they break up over that? The two of them have been together for 4 to 8 years. So wouldn't this have come up earlier in the relationship? Isn't this one of those arguments couples just agree to disagree on?" Well, it was more that she felt like, what is it? She said some lines like, "Hey, we broke up because he wouldn't stop treating me like a baby."
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I think there's more to it than that. Like weren't there for the arguments, but I got the sense of like this was an ongoing conversation of like, hey, don't treat me like this.
Yeah.
I want to be equal partners. And Spider-Man, Peter Parker's like, well, I have all these extra powers and like I'm scared for you.
Right.
I'm stronger, like I can protect you.
But I did like that line too, where he's like, "What do you want to be, like a spider girl? Woman. Like,
yeah. Where she's like, no, we're partners. We should be partners. And like, yeah, I appreciated that.
I didn't have a problem with sort of like that part of the aspect, that aspect of the relationship. What kind of threw me for a loop was like they're very sudden, like, oh, now our relationship has all this tension because like of the one bad sort of misinterpreted text that they had.
Right.
Like that, I thought that was like a weird.
I don't know if it's all hinging on that, but I hear you. Yeah.
But I've been there, like in those text moments where you're like, okay, what's this next text going to say, and been like that nervous person. Like I thought there was, I don't know, I appreciated that scene.
I like that scene for how he was like swinging around as a way to like relieve some of the anxiety.
Yes,
I feel like that's me
yeah.
pacing around the room as him just like flipping around the city.
Yeah,
writing
I
text.
think it's a good scene. It felt kind of weird. Also, I've never texted anyone before, so I don't know.
Samuel,
How does that work?
Samuel also says towards the end of Act 2, there's a moment where Peter calls MJ and just waiting for her to respond, hoping everything is still good between them after she didn't pick up his call, but texted him back. That moment got to him. Yeah, it's very relatable. It's a very nice, relatable little superhero moment of just waiting for a text to come back. Gosh, what do you guys want to talk about next?
I have a complaint.
Yeah.
Oh.
I feel like as I've gotten more gadgets, I've wished that they were more readily available. I'm not dying so much anymore because I am using all my gadgets. But whenever you pull up that gadget wheel, it just brings the combat to a halt in a way that I never want to do. Never feels fun to do.
Yeah.
Just pausing it completely. I
You
would
just
rather
want like
they
an
have like
L1, R1 shift through them type of thing.
sure, or just like
map them to the D-pad or something.
right. Like I know some of the D-pads in use, but like move the camera off it and then have like left, up, right be different gadgets you can assign.
Yeah.
And like hold them to get to the wheel, or don't even have a wheel and just have I've got 3 gadgets plus my web shooters that I have assigned at a given time, and I think that'd be plenty.
Right. Because I'm trying to remember Arkham. It's been a while since I've played it, but you can assign different abilities to the D-pad in Arkham, right? Is that the way that works?
Sounds right.
I think so,
It's been
yeah.
a while, but yeah. Well, what's confused me about the gadgets, I don't mind the slowdown personally, but what confuses me about them is like I don't understand how they recharge.
I don't
Like,
either.
it
I think you
seems
get
like-
them for certain actions during combat, because I would
Yeah.
definitely see like, oh, I did a finisher, and then you'll see like +1 spider bomb.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure like whether it's like, hey, if you get a high enough combo, or if you build up a focus bar, it gives you some of that stuff back. But I was definitely getting stuff back. But yes, there was like definitely moments where it's like, oh, I guess I wasn't expecting to have to worry about ammo counts. I thought those were all on a cooldown or something of like, because the basic spider web one is just like, you know, you mash it and then it refills. I thought that's how it worked for all of them. So to have something that is just like straight up ammo of like, you know, you're out of spider bombs, felt kind of weird.
Yeah. And what do you guys think about the health system? It feels very Horizon Zero Dawn. I think it's even the same button, isn't it? Like press down on the D-pad to like refill just a little bit.
Right.
Works for you?
Fine with it. I like that it's tied to the focus meter where you can like, okay, I can either do this powerful attack and take out a guy, or I can refill my health, and kind of like having to balance out like, is my health so low that I need to refill it, or should I
Right.
use this focus for something else?
Yeah, and there's a suit upgrade, I think it was, that like doubles or greatly increases the amount that your health recharges, and that's been a godsend.
Yeah.
Like definitely beeline for that.
There's also an upgrade where you can take out that quick takedown. Like you can take out 2 guys in a row, which
Oh.
is also kind of cool. So
Nice.
it's like now I'm really tempted. It's like I'd rather almost spend it on taking out 2 dudes rather than refilling my health.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see. An Attack Corgi writes in from Vancouver, British Columbia. That's in Canada. Says, "Hey, GI crew, I work in an architecture office and was intrigued by your building trademark question last week." Remember this one?
Oh, cool.
Yes, buildings have trademarks, and yes, there are disputes. Here in Vancouver, there are 2 building developments with the same name, but one ends with house and the other ends with village. There are lawsuits and legal blood is being drawn over this dispute. We're not lawyers in this humble firm, but we assume the popularity of the name and significance of your building determines the extent of the trademark. Billy from New Jersey says, "Hey, follow up to last week's discussions on trademarks. There were some obvious omissions for New York City, but 2 really stand out. First is the bull statue near Wall Street, which has been replaced by Lockjaw, the Inhuman dog.
I thought that was a cool swap out, though.
Yeah.
Honestly,
It's weird. Does it
It
still
is super
represent Wall
weird.
Street, like this Inhumans dog?
I don't know.
Weirder, in my opinion, is the omission of a certain building. You guys guess what it is?
The World Trade Center.
Yeah, One World Trade Center. Currently the tallest building in New York City. It's in its place as a building clearly inspired by it, but also clearly not the smartest building.
Smartest?
I don't know what he means. Gets stranger, though, when I found this Reddit thread where the real One World Trade Center was in some of the game's trailers. I'm sure it's missing for some legal reason, but interesting that it was in the game and later removed. And other buildings like the Empire State, Chrysler Building are represented in the game and called out by name. Grand Central Terminal is even featured as a story set piece. That's true, Josh
Is that one
Carmel.
of those things where a building can get so old that it enters like public domain?
And now we can all build our own Empire State
That's right,
Building
that's
if we
how it
want
works,
to. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
It's weird. I don't know.
Josh Carmel says, "As a New Yorker myself, it's nice to see loyal landmarks. I love to visit just Rockefeller Center and Lincoln Center. Speaking of, though, in Rockefeller Center, there's something very strange. The ice skating rink is open, yet I never see anybody on it. And if you go to walk on it yourself, you don't slide. You walk normally. Is this because of Spidey's stickiness? Also, gotta laugh at Leo. Also, I think it was a missed opportunity to have the PlayStation Theater in Times Square, of all places, missing from the game. Could have been a great secret picture opportunity." That's very true. Speaking of secret photos, well, we'll get to that later. New York City itself, I'm still enjoying. I still never fast travel. Although, like, doing it at the end of Act 2, when the city's just effing on fire and there's like snipers everywhere. That's why I gave you guys a subtle heads up. They're like, do your side stuff before the
Yeah.
prison sequence because it goes to hell.
I like that. It's like very satisfying. Obviously, you're not earning many rewards for doing it, but it's like just swinging around and fighting people on rooftops with like no greater plan than that. Like,
Yeah.
I want the game to be like that more often. Like I hope we can turn that on afterwards.
Yeah.
After the game's over.
It's chaos, yeah.
Yeah.
Mike Hennessy says, "I really like all the graffiti around the city, especially all the nods to other Spider-Man characters that might not appear in the game otherwise. Speaking of which, will we ever see Fin Fang Foom in any MCU or Insomniac game? He's not my favorite, just one of the more ridiculous villains."
It's not my favorite, but we need to see him.
He's the dragon?
Yeah, he's the dragon. I feel like he'd almost have to show up in like if they did another Thor or something,
Oh, yeah.
or maybe a Guardians movie if they ever do that now.
What's his story?
He's a giant dragon. I think he's technically an alien, but his name's Fin Fang Foom.
Okay.
He's pretty cool.
Maybe a
sounds
dream
fun.
sequence in the next game.
Yeah.
That's fun. There's a...
Oh, actually, man, I almost feel like there was a reference to him in like one of the Iron Fist shows.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
A subtle
but I
thing?
didn't finish those.
I liked them. I still love collecting all the backpacks and the little Easter eggs in there. I feel like it does a surprising amount for explaining where he's at in his story. Just, I don't know if you guys got the one where it's like a vial of sand. And he's like, it's unclear if I open this, if Sandman will come back to life or like what's going on here.
I think in the lore, there's like one kernel of sand that like is his life, is his entire life force.
Oh, you
And,
have to
like,
find
all
it?
No, and all the other ones he's just controlling and forming himself
That's
into.
a fun idea.
Wow.
I also like that they found like the little spider wings, the little things that go under his armpits, and he was like, "Oh, I tried these for a little while, and it turns out they don't work."
And there's like the locket with his parents where he's like, I wish I
Yeah.
knew more about them, but they were secret agents.
And I hope they never address that again.
You realize that a bad
I don't
Maybe
know,
story?
I
just
should
like-
watch Amazing Spider-Man too.
I just thought like that aspect, like he's supposed to be just a normal dude, and then like after 60 years of being in comics, they have to like everybody create next to him like has to
Right.
become like some big force. And
It's
so
like
his
Alfred's
parents-
like
yeah.
a secret ninja as well and all
Yeah,
that stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like no,
Come
he's a
on.
normal dude.
Chris Reardon also writes in from New Bedford, Massachusetts, and says, the best backpack collectible is the science trophy. When you look at it, Peter explains that part of his prize was a lifetime supply of backpacks. which I didn't
That's
listen
cool.
to that one, but that's a very
That's
fun
neat.
idea.
It's such a weird thing to offer as a prize of like, no, kids go through backpacks so quickly. We need to give them a whole. Also, they're going to use backpacks throughout their entire life. This kid's going to be so poor. He's going to be going to school for the rest of his life.
Come on.
So
How many
may as well-
backpacks do kids need? Like
Yeah.
2 or 3?
I've used the same one for 8 years.
A couple simple thoughts here. Todd from Atlanta says, fun fact for you. In the Act 1 portion of the Spider-Man Game Club, you mentioned that the voice actor of Peter was named Yuri, as was the female liaison to the New York City Police Department. In real life, those 2 voice actors are married.
Oh, what?
Oh, isn't that cute?
That's cool.
And they really have spider powers.
Justin Crowell writes in, the first comment is, I find it incredible that your boy Leo Vader was able to both work at Game Informer and be the voice of Spider-Man and Peter Parker. Really incredible.
How do you do it,
Yeah.
dude?
Isn't that a weird conflict of interest?
We talk about this in emails, you know? You just got to be creative outside of work.
I guess I don't hear it, but maybe a little bit. I think it's an unsung hero of the game. I feel like Yuri's performance as Peter Parker and Spider-Man is just perfect. Like, you never question it. It's just absolutely what you want Spider-Man to sound like.
Yeah. It just becomes confusing when you go on to hear him in other things.
And you're
Oh,
like,
really?
Like, oh,
That
that's
sounds like
Spider-Man.
me.
Like Ben 10.
I do still think he
Right.
looks a little weird, but I don't think it's because the character, like the person who portrayed him, looks weird. I think it's just, I think people's eyes in that game are a little too big, and I think it's most noticeable in Peter Parker, like
interesting.
in Peter, like everyone else.
Okay.
Everyone else you can tell, like, oh, this is like these eyes are bigger than you think, but like it feels fine on like Mary Jane and Aunt May, but like on Peter for whatever reason, I'm just kind of like, this is a little.
Everybody's still a little off-putting.
I was
yeah.
really trying to put my finger up it and figure out what it was that Peter doesn't look right. I think it's the hair.
Yeah, we talked about it last week. Yeah. I agree. But the one character I think that does look the best is Doc Ock. Like, especially those close-ups and stuff they had of him in Act 2. It's like, oh, it looks really good.
I can see his pores.
There's something about like, he has goggles in his office. Did you guys find that? Like,
Yeah.
those are kind of fun, like little like side thing.
Yeah,
or
me
that
too.
like suit too that looks like his old dumb classic suit from the '60s. Like,
Oh,
"Hey,
is that right?
Doc, what is this thing? It's like, oh, it's for my science stuff. Don't worry about it.
Weird. Oh, I missed that. I saw the goggle one where it's like, oh, he has good memories because it reminds him of college or something
Yeah.
like that. Also, on the voice actor front, J. Jonah Jameson, I had to look him up because he's also one that just completely nails it.
Yeah.
He's also the voice of Reinhardt in Overwatch.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's
it's
cool.
fun.
I also thought it kept reminding me of what was his name? The guy who portrayed him in the Tobey Maguire movies.
Yeah.
Like
J.K.
it-
Simmons.
Yeah,
Simmons.
it definitely reminded me of like him doing his best J.K. Simmons impression, which is kind of
That's
like a bummer.
fine.
Like I hope he can do that role again, even though he's already done it because he's like perfect for that.
It is one of those
He's
things where
Commissioner Gordon for me, first of all.
I've always kind of liked J. Jonah Jameson, even though like he hates Spider-Man, but he's always like this like extreme character. But like his portrayal in this is almost a little bit too real in a sense. Like, and I hate him more because he's more Alex Jonesy. That's what
Everybody
saying.
says Alex Jones. He's just a conservative radio host. It's just
like a
Alex
Rush
Jones is like
Limbaugh
the
sort of
go-to.
Bill O'Reilly type.
Yeah, he's just all conservative talk radio. I feel like folks
Right.
need to listen to more.
But that's what they're going for here, I think.
I don't think they're going for Alex
I don't know
Jones.
if they went specifically for Alex Jones, but
Right.
I'm just saying they went for that archetype.
Yeah.
And
I don't like him putting devil's breath in the air.
Also, speaking of J. Jonah Jameson, I love that he did mention his son was an astronaut.
Yeah.
His son is also a werewolf in the comics, which is amazing.
There's a werewolf in space?
And I would love if they reference that.
So was he born a werewolf, or is there an arc where he
becomes a werewolf.
Okay, so it's
What's
not
with
like J.
animals
Jonah Simmons is
fighting
like my
people?
son, the werewolf, is in space.
He was an astronaut.
And he's a good boy. Clay
You
Kins-
always see the moon in space, so
Oh my God. Whoa. Is that why he wanted to go up there?
that's why.
At the end of the game, that you just see this like satellite crash onto the planet, and werewolf comes out of it. And you're supposed to not have any idea what just
That's
happened.
the post-credits thing everyone's so excited about
Yeah.
is Space Werewolves here, boys.
Sorry to spoil it for you guys.
Clay Kinson writes in and says, I'd be remiss to exclude a note about the Just for Facts episode with the woman from Edina, Minnesota. Game Informer is based in Minnesota. What did you guys think of that? Wasn't it such a surreal thing hearing, do you have a Spider-Man in Edina? Did you guys listen to that one yet?
It was weird. I wasn't sure why they referenced that.
Yeah, somebody at Insomniac must have some connection to Edina, Minnesota, which is like a suburb here in the Twin Cities. Please write in if you're from Insomniac and know that reference, because it is funny just to hear J. Jonah Jameson be like, do you have crime in Edina? Do you have Spider-Man in
I
Edina?
wonder if they just Googled most obscure city in Minnesota and that came up.
It could be. On the podcast thing, Ryan Clausen from San Diego says, why can't we listen to the audio logs without being in menus?
Right.
I'd love to listen to the older podcasts while zipping around the city, but instead, if I want to re-listen to a podcast, I have to go into a menu and listen to it.
Metal Gear Solid 5 did it perfectly, and we're all still dealing with this crap.
Yeah, I agree.
I also spent a lot of time in that game sort of sitting around waiting for conversations to end. So I could go do objectives and things like that. Like the J. Jameson podcast, a lot of like the incidental conversations that you have. I felt like the conversations went on longer than I was swinging, so I'd just be like hanging out on top of a roof waiting for the conversation to open so I can go inside.
Crime can wait.
Yeah.
Douglas Denew says, I accidentally engaged some thugs when MJ was on the phone and lost that conversation. This happened to anybody else? Yeah, I'm scared of that, so I always respect it.
Hide up on a roof, wait for the conversation to end.
Also, I'm confused about J. Jonah Jameson's podcast, but also if you hit a radio in the world, it'll start playing it. So is it like a radio show that's also turned into a podcast with like 3-minute long episodes? Like what's going on there?
I haven't tried hitting a radio.
There's like
with
some
a web,
stealth
or what do you do?
missions. I forget if it was the Miles thing in particular. Maybe it's like you hacked into a radio and it would like turn on or off the podcast.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
cool.
It's strange. Gosh, you know what? You know what I want to talk about? Caleb C. from Dallas, Texas is something I've noticed, and a lot of people wrote in about this, which is great, is whenever Peter's talking on a phone while swinging around, you can hear him laboring to speak on the phone. Out of curiosity, I perched on a rooftop to see if Pete's demeanor changed. When it got to the next line of dialogue, it sounded like a more relaxed performance compared to the one before. I've done this a few more times with similar results. Does this mean that Yuri, the voice actor, actually had to record the swinging dialogue with 2 different performances? If so, extra props on an already great
Oh,
performance.
wow, that's crazy.
I haven't tested that, but I would not believe that's true. I would put money on that not being true.
Really? I
2
think
versions
it is.
of every line?
I think it is,
I
man.
believe I've seen a video where that showcases the same line said 2 different ways. So
Yeah.
like I actually do think they did
That was a
that.
close one. I saved some money.
But isn't that weird?
$40, Leo, give me.
It's just funny, like every time Spider-Man's swinging and talking to like, May on the phone, it's like, what does she think he's doing? It's just this sort of like, well, we'll see about that. I don't know about. It's like,
Sorry, I'm in a wind tunnel
Sorry,
again.
I'm lifting heavy objects.
yeah, all the time. You can't stop me. Have you guys had any experience with the bugs?
Spider-Man? Oh, man, I made a serial joke.
Jake from New Jersey and David Gallagher both wrote in saying that they've had some wacky bugs happen along the way.
The chase scene where you're on top of the truck fighting, I thought was a cool scene, and it was hampered by constant bugs.
Really?
People glitching through it. I fell into the truck and then slid out of it.
Oh, that sucks.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
it was
Because that was one of my
continuous.
favorite story missions so far, actually. Because
Yeah.
it was so cool and like cinematic.
I was like excited when it was happening, and then it just kept glitching out.
that sucks.
I've had it a lot with side missions, just like NPCs wandering around aimlessly, or like their mouth doesn't trigger for saying their lines, stuff like that.
I had one guy when I was stealthing around get stuck at like half noticed, and I waited for him to, go back to normal, and he never did. And I tried to distract him, and he couldn't get distracted, so I just tried to take him out, and then I lost because he was
I
doing
had,
someone
I
else.
had to restart one of the side missions because there was a bad guy I had to kill, and he was like in the map. He was fully embedded inside of a building that I couldn't like have access, that I didn't have access to. So I just had to reload the save after like looking for him forever.
Yeah.
I also had one thing where during one of the cutscenes in the Tombstone side mission, like the guy, one of the guys sneaks up like. The first time the guy takes a hit and turns into the Tombstone sort of
It's a hit.
well, because they like
Yep.
and so there's one guy so they showed that cutscene of like, oh, now I'm all mad, and then this other guy walked into the scene and sort of walked to his spot like for like 5 seconds, and then sort of the cutscene ended of like, okay, you have to get into position before this cutscene can start.
Oh, weird.
And then I started beating him up.
Smart.
The one that happened to me was the weirdest one. Was like I was talking to a cop for a side mission or something, and where you dive and you go head first when you're diving.
Yeah.
I was doing that, and then I like fell down by the side of a building, and I got stuck in that dive animation, like 1 foot off the ground. And I was just like paused there, like diving, and I could still hear the wind sound, like, like I was diving, and the cop was right there talking to me, like, "Hey, Spider-Man, thanks for doing that crime, whatever."
By the way, you're under arrest for speeding.
That actually happened to me as well. Yeah.
Cool new ability, Spider-Man. Cool power.
Something we haven't mentioned yet, which is huge for this game, also I'd imagine is huge for the sales of this game, is photo mode. Dr. Pham, Victor Pham, that is, writes in and says, there are many great things about the game, but my favorite has to be the selfie camera in photo mode. It's especially fun to use at the most inappropriate moments in the game. When I first took control of Miles, the first thing I did was have him take a selfie with Peter's unconscious body. Yeah, it is absolutely amazing. You forget how amazing the animations are, and just overall the game that you can pause it at any moment and just rotate the camera and look at these awesome moves.
Even when you're falling in the air as Spider-Man, it's like you do selfie and you see he's doing a cool pose. In
Yeah.
midair.
Yep.
We used it a lot for our like Six Stunts one, and then we didn't notice it at the time, but apparently Spider-Man doesn't have like a reflection in a lot of the
Buildings, yeah.
The buildings.
Oh my god. Red Magnus says playing Spider-Man has never felt so amazing, and he just loves the game. And I'm genuinely shocked how much fun I'm having with the photo mode. I've taken to posting them all on Facebook, and now my grandmother is commenting on all my spider selfies.
Oh, crazy.
It is funny just thinking about how successful photo mode is for this, and even like God of War earlier this year. And it's like it is such a weird Sony-focused thing in a way. Because of like the ease of sharing, but Microsoft is more focused on multiplayer gaming, and you need like a single player game to have like a good photo mode, right? And so it is just this weird thing where like Sony has cornered the market on great photo modes in games.
Yeah, I wonder how much of that is like coming down from up top. Like this is a very good feature to have when sharing like makes games these days. That's why Yakuza 0 broke through, you know?
Yeah, totally.
I could totally see it being like something they really push developers to do.
Oh, I bet it has sold 5% more copies of the game.
Yeah, just
Really?
because
And
people are
the-
sharing those photos and
Yeah.
then people see them. And like,
Actually, hang on. Yep, Shuhei Yoshida's calling in. 5%.
6%.
Wow.
Oh my god, 7.
That's
it's
the
going up.
fastest phone
They're
call.
still selling.
They're listening to the podcast.
It's going through the roof.
Also, what do you think those comments are that he's leaving on her Facebook? I'm so
Looking
proud
good,
of you,
dear.
Spider-Man.
You look kind of weird. Your eyes are like too big.
Lance Walken writes in and says, not really specific to Act 2, but it's a minor complaint. I like doing the landmark photography. However, as an amateur photographer, I wish Spidey could get a wide-angle lens to capture those enormous buildings better. It really doesn't make a difference, but I'm always trying to frame up a nice shot of those buildings, and it's nearly impossible to get a good view in the camera.
I love taking those pictures because just like swinging around, floating in midair, and it's slowing down as you're lining up the camera like in
Yeah.
midair, that makes those infinitely more fun.
All of my
I don't
shots
like that.
are terrible. Like they're
While
just
you're
like
diving
here's like the underside of this building. It's like, yep, that's a
Right.
picture of the Chrysler
New
building
York,
or
New
whatever.
York.
Got a really good one of the United Nations building that was just a sheer wall.
Counts.
Says it all. Okay, last email here from Jordan from Fairfax, Virginia. Reeves, this is you. Look alive.
Oh.
I'm currently using the free month of Marvel Unlimited that comes with hard copies of the game to read up on comics. I've started with the Ultimate Comics series since I read it, and it was an easy place to jump in at, and I'm really enjoying it. Do you have any recommendations on other Spider-Man story arcs to read? I don't know what these are. I feel like there's obviously the go-to Batman stories,
Yeah.
other heroes, but Spider-Man, what are the go-to stories?
Man, that's a good question. I would say Death of Jean DeWolf is one that's kind of like a classic,
Jean
like
DeWolf?
1980s. Death of Jean DeWolf.
Is it Wolf?
Wolf. Wolf.
Reeves
Wolf.
can't
What am I
say the
saying?
word wolf. You're
Wolf.
saying wolf.
On. Yeah.
Wait, are you a
honestly,
wolf man?
The first 100 issues or so of Stan Lee's run is actually pretty good and holds up, even though it's from the 60s.
So it's like the origin of everything.
Yeah.
Wow. Who's the first villain he fights?
First villain he fights is Chameleon,
Really?
but then he fights Vulture pretty quickly after that.
Okay. That's interesting. That'd be fun to go back to those early ones.
Yeah, I think it's pretty fun, and I'm trying to think of something more modern. I would just maybe do Dan Slott's run and just start from the beginning.
Okay.
There's a lot of interesting.
Is there a
stuff
name
in
for that
He
run,
wasn't
or-
my favorite, but
Is he the one that was mentioned by the person saying that Mr. Negative storyline, Dan Slott? Did he write him?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, Dan Slott. He is one of the biggest. Honestly, though, probably the best still is the Ultimate Spider-Man run.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Go for that.
There is one called Spider-Men, and it's
Oh, I did a side mission called that.
Peter Parker teaming up with Miles Morales, and that was kind of good.
Oh, cute. Okay. Oh, we didn't mention that, speaking of Spider-Man, that Halloween party. Where it's all the people dressed as the villains, and
I thought that was cool.
50% of the crowd was on a horse head. It's okay.
Yeah.
But then Greg Miller, shirtless man, modeled after Greg Miller, harasses Spidey and makes fun of the white symbol on his suit and all that stuff.
What is this?
I liked the Rhino guy being a jerk and then him being the last boss of that sequence was you meeting him again.
Yeah.
Right. Technically, you
well
fight
done.
Rhino in this game, isn't
You
that
take him
enough?
out pretty fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Act 3. Next
Where are we
episode,
playing to?
Next week, everything. Email in with everything. Big predictions. Is everyone on the same page? Final boss is going to be Doc Ock.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
I really haven't been surprised by the story yet. And everyone's talking about how it goes places and it is surprising. And so I'm waiting for something to hit me.
I was hoping that would happen in the second act, but
I mean, I was
Haven't.
kind of surprised by, I don't know if surprised is the right word, but when Doc Ock releases that vial,
Okay.
that just seemed very oh, wow, he went all in on the villain thing
Yeah,
pretty quickly.
I guess so.
That was kind of a big moment, but in terms of big twists or anything, no. I think the story's been good. I like all the characters.
Yeah, I'm into it. I'm just waiting for a haymaker. Especially something with Mary Jane or the interplay between Miles and Mary Jane and Peter. There has to be something that we're not thinking of that's going to be really interesting. If it's just you fight Doc Ock and then they tease Green Goblin and Miles getting powers, cut the credits,
that's what it
that'll be
seems like they're going
solid.
for.
But I
Yeah.
don't think people are talking like there's something crazy that happens.
Yeah. If it's a great Spider-Man story, that's totally fine.
Yes.
It just wouldn't be maybe remembered as one of the great stories of video games.
I think it's just like the moments are really what's selling it for me.
Yeah,
like the
for
moments,
sure.
like the thing where you're on like that truck, or like even like that. Even though we saw it at E3, that sequence in the raft is really cool.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just like all those moments add up to like what you feel is a really fun story, even though like on paper it's pretty basic.
Yeah, for sure. All right, that's it for all of Act 2. GI Game Club,
We did it.
Spider-Man, Act 2 in the can. Next episode, Act 3, we're doing everything. So please write into podcastgameinformer.com with your thoughts on everything else in the game. This is your last chance. Thank you for everybody that wrote in. Everybody did such an amazing job. We got so many great emails.
Yeah,
Sorry if I didn't
thank
get
you.
to all of them. And that's it for this overall episode of the Game Informer Show. Be sure to tune in next week, or maybe even Friday for a special edition episode. You tell me. But thank you so much for watching and listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Oh, this is the song from Rent
Yeah,
that is climbing the charts.
everyone's talking about it. And I think they're singing in it. Is there singing?
You're
I'm
supposed
just
to be
waiting
singing,
for
dude.
like a woo
Yeah.
karaoke version.
I don't think so.
Is it just this loop? It's on loop.
There we go. Okay.
5,600 minutes, 525,000 moments, oh dear. 525,600 minutes.
You're supposed to be singing.
Are we just sharing our favorite musical numbers?
No, we're talking about how long it takes to beat Wild Arms.